Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 51 of the Friday Nightmares podcast. I am one half of your hosting team this evening, Mr. Smoke Show Crawford, coming to you from the town of Swartz Creek in the county of Genesee, in the state of Michigan, in the United States of America, in the North American continent, in the Western Hemisphere, on the planet Earth, in the Milky Way galaxy, on the fully vaxxed. God damn it.
You're fully vaxxed, waxed, boosted,
and ready to climax. And if you can, please get me wet and feed me after midnight. And let's continue our part 2 of counting down our top 50 horror movies. And with me, as always, is
Heather Powell, coming to you today from Waterdown, Ontario, Canada. And I am so excited for this remaining list. I'm so excited that it's the end of January. So we recorded this literally a week later. Our bottom 25 is dropping tonight because of Scotty's mad editing skills like a fucking boss.
Just like my bottom clothing's dropping tonight too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, so this will be, hopefully Scotty can put this out next week. It's very close episodes, but it is our top 25. Hopefully he doesn't have to edit as much because it's just us talking about movies. We're not doing our sections, but we will be back to our regular scheduled programming starting in February. So you will start to hear our regular episodes then. Where we'll go back to our topics and our themes as we move forward. So again, if you're listening, thank you again. Thank you for your support over the past 2 years.
Thank you guys very much.
Never in a million years did I ever think I'd be a podcaster. I talked a little bit on the last show how much Scott means to me. It was a really emotional episode. I was really tired and really feeling-y because both Scott and I have gone through some stuff this January, and we've been supporting each other because we're very good friends off air. As we are on air, we're probably better friends off air than we are off air.
True.
I'm a lot nicer to you not on Friday Nightmares than I am on Friday Nightmares, but that's okay. I still never in a million years, when I used to listen to Kill the Cast back in the fucking day, did I ever think I'd be doing this. I remember I used to listen to Jerry, Jay, and Kenneth and think, wow, I could never do that. Wow.
And here you are.
And the positive feedback I've had people tell me that I'm one of their favorite female podcasters, which I'm humbled. I've actually been told that I'm someone's favorite podcaster, which blows my fucking mind because I don't think I'm that great. And Brandon Orlick would agree. So, that someone actually does think that I am anywhere close to being very good is flattering beyond belief. I always considered myself learning from Scotty because Scotty was the veteran when we started out.
Oh,
well, you had 2 podcasts beforehand.
It's true, but I'll say I've never heard anybody say I'm their favorite.
Well, that's because you're not a chick.
But
let's be real. I just get the slide in the DMs. You get the memes. Let's be.
I can be though.
He's rubbing his nipples right now. He is the meme king. So I don't know what he's fucking upset about. Everyone fucking loves Smoke Show because I get a couple of people messaging me in my DMs. He's like, "Why didn't I get that?" You get everything else, okay? You get the fame.
I want it all, Heather.
You get the memes. You get the people wanting your opinions. No one wants my fucking opinions. They're like, all Heather likes is social, political, angry movies or dumb fucking movies that Kevin Smith makes about walrus people in walrus suits. No one cares what I have to say. But yes, thank you again. Thank you. And what Scott's arguing with one of his cats, which has also been something that have gone on with us for years now.
Oh, seriously, one of my cats is tangled in my headset wires.
Scott's head. I hope he leaves this in. He's stuck, bent over his desk, trying to untangle his cat.
Oh my gosh, you pulled my head down. I'm like, ah.
Episode 51, and we're just as professional and polished as ever.
Always.
Remember when we were that one episode?
The very first episode.
And our sexual horror sexuality episode was a heavy fucking episode.
Yeah.
And surprisingly enough, our lowest downloads. Gee, I don't know why. But our downloads have increased over the years, and literally we can say over the years. Isn't that nuts?
That is weird. I've never thought I'd ever say that.
Well, we've surpassed both House by the Cemetery and Horror Drunks, right?
Yes. Podcast by the Cemetery.
Oh yeah, your podcast by the cemetery. Like,
But
what the fuck was it by the cemetery?
yeah, Horror Drunks. I think we made it to episode 25. So yeah, we've doubled the amount of episodes already. It may have been 2 years with them, but it's we were so sporadic with releasing. We never released on a schedule. So
not us.
Yeah,
fucking military schedule here.
Well, that's because you cracked the whip for me. Make sure
I do. And for everyone who's asking me about controllers up and cards down, you need to ask Smoke Show Crawford about controllers up, cards down.
Well, we'll say, unless you want to keep hearing me talk about playing Magic the Gathering, like the same conversation over and over again and what we played, that's all I've been playing. I have not had a video. I have fallen into a video game / gaming slump.
Is that really what's happened, Scott? I feel like that's not.
Well, that was
accurate.
That was part of it. That's what started the call. That's what started me not like having the motivation. Then, life got a little busier for me.
I outed you to some of our close podcasting
I know you did.
Friends. Lance from the Horror Returns and Darren too. When Lance asked me, shouts out to Lance Lansford from the Horror Returns. Please check out their podcast. One of the best podcasts out there that does horror. And he said, when's this coming back? I said, well, Scott's been really busy with one person specifically. And that person's not me, just so we're clear. I know people have fantasized that Scott and I are a couple. I know that people would really like to see that, but here's the thing about Scotty and I. We're actually really similar. And we're both feelers.
A little too similar.
a little too similar. But we also, I probably annoy him more now than I did back in the day, but he can annoy the living fuck out of me. More than any human being can, but I just love his swooshy face so much. I don't know, Scott, I probably annoy you sometimes. I must.
I think we have our own level of annoyance to each other, though I think I drive you crazier.
Yeah, Scott's very patient.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I have a lot of patience.
Very much so. But Scott is currently spending some time with a good friend who has a lot of stuff in common with Scott as well. And this good friend and him do a lot of fun things together. And they are going to do some fun things this weekend and moving forward. So, we all need good friends. Right, Scott?
We do.
Right? And so that's why we don't have controllers up, cards down. Which is our video gaming and gaming podcast. Which I don't know. Tim's gone, who was our co-host. He's definitely no longer coming back on. But I think
he definitely has a life now.
Yes, he definitely. Well, he is in a very committed relationship with a lovely young woman. So he is living his #best life. But I don't know. Maybe we could bring it back for February, Scotty. What do you say? It's only an hour-long show. I could learn how to edit. That's what really comes down to is the time to edit.
Yeah, because editing that show was never really that hard, especially because it was a short episode.
Yeah.
Though as long as it didn't land on the same week I had to edit for this show or our Patreon episodes.
Yeah.
Because then it just kind of feels like I'm doing a lot. But
yeah.
But yeah, we could probably we may just have to change the format a bit because like I said, like the whole what we've been playing section, I would have nothing new to talk about. I've been
been playing tons of fucking video games.
Yeah, and I haven't touched a video game in going on 2 months now.
Yeah, he's been busy having someone else play with his
joystick.
Just kidding.
Good Lord.
Just kidding.
And but no, I get in these modes.
Sorry.
I get in these modes where I just lose interest in gaming, and it'll go for quite a few months, and then I'll come back to it.
Well, and I know we're talking about controllers up, cards down on Friday Nightmares, but fuck's sakes, it's the same as both of us on both podcasts.
Right.
So if we do bring that back, which we may do for February, it will be an hour-long show is what we always like to stick to. We may, what we've been playing, Scott may just not share, and we may just have a guest. When we always preferred to have guests on that episode anyway, on that show anyway, it was a rotating guest. So if we do go back to it, which hopefully we will, maybe I'll learn how to edit it so Scott doesn't feel like he's editing all the time. And yeah, we can maybe bring it back because it isn't the first time I've been asked about bringing that show back.
I know it. Well, I know also Luffy has been chomping at the bit for us to
Well,
get
he's
some
going
new
to be
episodes
on.
out.
Let's be clear.
Oh yeah.
He is going to be on that show. So I think we need to really commit to February, Scotty, if you can find time in your busy life.
I mean, that is only in 3 days.
I know, but we have the whole entire month, Scott. Just so we're clear. We'll see if so. You heard it here first on Friday Night Nares. We are going to attempt to bring back controllers up, cards down, which I named, by the way, just so we're clear. That name came from me, and so did Friday Nightmares.
Well, Friday Nightmares came from both of us.
Friday Nightmares came from me.
Yeah.
That's
Quit stealing credit.
I know. What am I? I'm doing plagiarism, or who's that person that steals credit for everyone else's work? Isn't there a famous person that does that? Oh, Puff Daddy. That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Fucked over Mace real bad, right? All my 90s friends are like, yeah. Anyway, back to horror movies. So we're going to be going through our bottom 25. Well, I guess our top 25. I don't know why I'm saying bottom. Top 25. And I had to change some out because Scotty and I had similar tastes, because we're just kind of like twinsies,
Twinsies.
Like The Battery. I think Scott was shocked that I liked that as much as I did, but it was a fucking awesome movie, Scott.
It really is.
It really is, right? So, well, let's see. We're on 25 now. So we started off where we left off is we did our 26. So my 26, just in case you're bridging and you're not sure what left off at, I'll do 30 down. My 30 to 26 were Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark 2019, Maniac 1980, Eden Lake 2008, Come Play 2020, and Friday the 13th Part 4 1984.
All right. And my 30 to 26 was Let the Right One In 2008, The Mist 2007, The Battery 2012, Christine 1983, and House on Haunted Hill 1959.
All right there, my friend. Bring us in with your 25.
All right. Number 25 is my second favorite anthology of all time, and that is 1982's Creepshow.
Fuck yeah.
Man, this movie, obviously, it's a classic. The way it is filmed is like that whole comic book feel to it. Every story is extremely just entertaining and solid, and like you could, if people, like we talked about on our top 5 anthology stories episode, you could literally fill that top 5 with these stories, because all 5 stories are just really good, really fun.
Absolutely.
So many freaking like it's a stacked cast of who's who and like the horror genre and outside of the horror genre, like just so many. And written by Stephen King, directed by George Romero. Like this was a project that just worked so fucking well. And yeah, I love this movie to death. Everyone that is a horror fan has seen this film by this point, so like I don't need to get into details, but yeah, wonderful horror anthology.
And I think what horror anthologies do is they show that what you can do when you only want stars for a short period of time. So a star needs to be on the set for a day to shoot a short film. And it shows you how many people you can get, because the commitment isn't that long, right? It's a quick payday. You're coming in, you're doing whatever it is you need to do, and then you leave. And I think that anthologies really represent that. And speaking of anthologies, my number 25 is also an anthology. And it was an anthology that was recommended to me by both you and Brendan Arlick, and that is Southbound 2015.
Nice.
One of the best fucking blended together anthologies, with the exception of Trick or Treat, that I've ever seen. I love Southbound. It's dark, real dark. All the stories, how they interline together, I love them. It's a real heavy watch. It's some anthologies you watch, like Tales, Creepshow is kind of fluffy, and Tales from the Crypt, there's these like split up segments in them, and Southbound just feels like it's all put together. And it's like a puzzle you're trying to figure out, like, how do all these things come together? How is everything? And even like the cover of it with that star in the circle, it really represents the connectivity of this film. So if for some reason you haven't had a chance, Southbound. I know you're a fan, Scotty.
Oh yeah, this movie was really good and just pretty twisted. Like the stories in it were pretty mean-spirited. But yeah, fucking great anthology. Like I think this would be in my top 100. And you mentioned Trick or Treat, and I'm kicking myself because I had a brain fart and did not add Trick or Treat or Krampus to my list. And probably those two could have been in my top 50.
Isn't those done by Michael Dougherty?
Yep.
Yeah, you like fucking suck his dick a lot.
And so we will say they are number 51 and number 52.
And those are the honorable mentions that Scott forgot about last time.
Yeah. We crammed for this. Like, well, I won't say we've prepared for, we've known about making this top 50 for quite some time, but we're both kind of like procrastinators and wait till the last minute. Mm-hmm. And yeah, my dumbass just did not think of these movies when, like I said, like I even said last episode, like my top 50 would change, like probably my top 35 of this list would change constantly on a rotation because there's just so many to choose from.
You know, it's funny. I really thought Trick or Treat was going to be in your top 10. I really did. I know how much you love that anthology. You know who's really mad at us right now? Tim Davis.
Oh, I guarantee he is.
He's going to get even madder.
Oh, well, I know he's going to get even more mad when he hears another movie that's not on my list.
I know, right? It's going to be bad.
Tim Davis, we love you.
Tim, please still listen to our show. Please
Tim. Continue to have a Scott Crawford, a raging Scott Crawford.
Anyway, so yeah, what's your 2024, Scotty?
My number 24 is what used to be one of my all-time favorite horror comedies, but has kind of pushed down the list a little bit as, you know, I've found some that are a little better, but I still love this movie to death. Good old British comedy at its finest and directed by Edgar Wright. That is 2004's Shaun of the Dead.
Just go to the pub and wait for it to all blow over.
I just especially that scene. Okay, so we're gonna kill Phil. Sorry, and just go to the pub and wait for this to all blow over.
I love, you know what scene I love in that, where he's fighting with his girlfriend and she's like, "We've never gone anywhere." He's like, "We went to Greece." She's like, "We met in Greece."
Yeah,
I find that so fucking funny. I don't know why. I just find it hilarious.
It's quick-witted humor throughout it, and there is a line when his roommate comes in and they're like, or his roommate wakes up at like 4 a.m. because they're drunk jamming to a record, and he comes out and he's like, they see the bite on his hand and they're going, "What the hell happened to you?" He's like, "I got bit by some bum," like, and he's like, "Now can you see why I'm so pissed off?" And then Nick Frost just goes, "Fuck yeah." I don't know why every time that line, that I just burst into tears laughing. Fuck yeah.
It's really funny. It is so, the movie's great. It's a classic. Like, right, it's an absolute classic.
And it's a wonderful homage to like Romero's Dead trilogy. And
agreed.
Like, it's gory, it's got heart, it's funny as hell. And once again, Edgar Wright, like I've talked about in our 2021's award show, he is a master when it comes to like editing skills. And
so much so that Scott made up an award just for Edgar Wright.
He's got style. He really does.
That's like, and I love him.
I do. Like, I would love to meet him, Simon Pegg, and Nick Frost one day. That would just a dream trio of people right there. And but yeah, like his editing skills, like with the constantly like cutting between the coffee and the quick cuts and stuff like that, or when they're beating the zombie to death with the pool sticks to Don't Stop Me Now by
Queen. My God, it's so funny. I may watch that movie tonight because it's just so fucking funny.
I love that movie so much.
Oh man, such a good film. I'm so glad you brought it to the table. I don't have it on my list. It would be in my top 100, but it's rewatchable. Like, it's fucking amazing, right. You know? Yeah. So yes, awesome. I'm going to make some slasher fans very happy.
Ooh. I
may have just saved our podcast.
Oh.
Number 24 for me is Halloween 1978. Scott's like, "Bitch, please." That is on my list.
It's a great fucking movie.
You know, I have even more appreciation after watching the Netflix documentary series, The Films That Made Us.
Oh, yeah.
And how they made that ending scene, like that opening scene was the last thing they filmed. Mm-hmm. And how much work that was, and the camera work at the time, and the crew. And that documentary is from the crew perspective. And let me tell you, that was a hell of a lot more fucking interesting than listening to, like, no offense to Jamie Lee Curtis, but Jamie Lee Curtis talk about it for the 18th millionth time. Like, right. It was really cool hearing about how the crew did it. And man, talk about doing something so amazing with something so simple. Now, some people find this movie boring. I know there are fans in the community that are not a huge fan of Halloween 1978, and that's absolutely fine. But I think you have to respect, even if you're not a big fan of the film, what the film did.
Yeah, this film ushered in the slasher genre to what it pretty much became especially in the 80s.
Absolutely. You had Black Christmas before that, and you had, you know, some other giallo slasher type films. So it's not to take away from what else was there previously, But when you're looking at something like Halloween with a simple mask, a simple concept, and I love the documentary because it talks about, like, I think sometimes we get caught up in the franchise of Halloween and what it is today.
Yeah.
Not what it was in 1978. It was just about some dude who fucking watched his sister bang, was pissed about not going out trick-or-treating, and sliced and diced her, and then came back for fucking seconds. Like, that was the simplicity of it. And, you know, people will argue about, like, well, how did you learn to drive? Who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck how he learned to drive? You know, you got the throwaway line of, well, someone must have taught him he was doing very well last night. Like, it's a throwaway line. Who cares? Like, it's a fucking slasher film from 1978. And it's awesome. The scene where, like, he pretends to be Bob with the glasses on. I think it's Bob.
Yep.
Coming up the stairs. Like, this movie has its place in cinematic history and, you know, has a place on my list. It's probably not as high as other people would have it, but mad respect, nothing but mad respect for this film.
Yep. Hence one of the reasons why I think John Carpenter is a master of his craft. Like, the dude's done some amazing fucking films.
Couldn't agree more. And amazing music too. I think he also captured the value of music and atmosphere. And Scott and I talk a lot about atmosphere in films. And, you know, I think sometimes people miss out on the atmosphere, and that's okay. Maybe that's not your thing, but music, and another film, as much as we joke about it, Suspiria, used music fucking incredibly. Like, that is another example of a film.
Good old Goblin.
Oh man, like the fucking editing of that too was mint.
Yeah.
You know, there's certain films that come out that you just have to turn to and acknowledge and go, hey, even if that isn't my jam, they used music in a way that really kind of built emotion and pulled stuff from you during it. So that's why Halloween's here.
Nice. Yep. Love that movie. It's great.
I know. Shock faint. You love that movie, huh?
Right. So yeah, I guess I could jump over to number 23, and I'm sticking in the 2000s, and I'm going with Lucky McKee's 2002 May.
Nice. So first time watch for me last year.
Yep, for Slumber Party Massacre, right?
That's right.
Man, do I love this movie. I rented it back, you know, when Blockbuster days were still around. rented it from there and just fell in love with it. Like, you just Angela Bettis, like, you just feel so you feel so bad for her, because, like, she's just this weird, like, awkward nerd, and she just doesn't know how to deal with things and cope with things and how to socialize, and she obviously does not deal with rejection very well when she gets rejected for being kind of weird to a guy she kind of instantly fell in love with. And, you know, like, just watching her go through what she does and then deciding, you know what, screw it. Everyone's got a perfect piece of body. I'm going to take those pieces and make my own perfect boyfriend.
And Patchwork should be sending a nice big thank you to May for the inspiration for that film. Patchwork,
absolutely.
2017.
But yeah, this is like a character study where you are kind of rooting for the antagonist to just do, like, don't do what you're doing, like, because you just feel so bad for what she's going through.
Right. And I think you're right. She's a what do they call that? An anti-protagonist, or what's it called?
Anti-hero.
Anti-hero. Like, you feel bad for her, right? You know, you feel like it's pretty shitty what's happening. And let's shout out to Anna Faris in this too. Like, Anna Faris does a fucking awesome job as well. I feel like Anna Faris sometimes doesn't get the respect she deserves. She's fun chick, man. She's fun in the role she's in, right? And she knows her roles and she plays them well. But I agree, May is a fucking phenomenal film. I'm really glad I got to watch it last year. Now, I did switch out my number 23 because I knew it was high on Scott's list. So when we get to it, I will give my kudos to it. And as we were talking, I wanted to make sure Tim Davis continued to listen to our podcast. So Jaws is my number 23.
Nice.
1975. And it honestly is. Like, Jaws is a fucking awesome movie. I know Tim has said that it's a perfect horror film, and I can't disagree with him. Tim Davis from Horror for Dummies, please check them out. You can find them on any podcasting network, as well as podcasting stuff like Spotify or Podcast Addict or whatever. And also they have a Patreon, so please support them there because these Aussie C words are worth it. But it's so great. Like, the opening scene where that chick dies and you see her body being like thrown around in the fucking water. She's like, ah! It's fucking awesome. Or like when the shark attacks the boat and attacks those guys, like it's fucking sick. And though it's not part of the movie, one of my favorite things is when they put googly eyes on shark on Jaws, and they like make the memes of them. Or Bruce the Shark. It's the fucking best. But I thought Jaws was not only a great horror film, it really capitalized on something that was happening back in history. Obviously, they really butchered the real story of Jaws and the 12 Days of Terror and what happened in New England. That's fine, right? Like it's a story. It's exaggerated in Jaws. It doesn't follow anything, but it's a really fucking fun film, and the special effects still hold up today. It's still entertaining today, and I like all the Jaws movies. I even like Jaws: The Revenge. I agree with Tim. I think that's a good film.
Yep,
I think it's entertaining as fuck.
Yep, Jaws:
really,
Revenge
really
is a blast.
And who cares if the shark roars? Who gives a fuck?
Right.
By the time you get to number 4, who cares? Does it really matter? You're watching Jaws 4 for fuck's sakes. Who gives a shit? But yeah, I think Jaws is just deserves its place in cinematic history. It is a fucking awesome movie. And Tim, I want you to remember who had it on their list. It wasn't your boyfriend, Scott. It was me.
Yeah,
now, where's my invite to Wrestling for Dummies?
Ooh.
Okay.
But yeah, once like you've said everything perfectly. This film is fantastic all around. Like it actually builds tension. So, like I feel it's a little slow, like for introducing it to somebody new to horror. Might just be kind of a little bit of a slow burn.
It's very much like a 70s film.
Yeah.
To be honest, that's what they were in the 70s.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, excellent horror film. Though, yeah, I do not have it in my top 50. It is in my top 100, but yeah, I couldn't put it in my top 50 because these are like the 50 most rewatchable style films for me. And
yeah,
I do love Jaws, but I don't go and rewatch it a lot.
I will always watch Jaws if it's on TV.
I'll say if I had cable and it was on TV, yes, I would stop and watch it. But since I don't have cable, I have to be. I choose what I want to watch there. So
yeah, and he's too busy with his other activities to.
Good Lord.
Hey, I'm just jealous.
I know you are.
My DMs are like this. Cricket, cricket, cricket.
You hear this, guys? Start blowing up her DMs.
Here's the funniest thing. Okay, side note. I watched the 2021 comedy special on Netflix. So they did one for 2020. They did one for 2021. And I was watching them with my friend. And there's a scene where the British chick that stars in it, like the girl that puts on the British accent, is pretending to be an average UK citizen. Do you know which one I'm talking about, Scott? She goes... She's like, oh, hold on. I think I got a message. Oh, wait, no, it's just an update from my phone. Well, I guess that's something to look forward to. And I fucking died. Like, I was laughing so hard. Yeah. I'll take what I can get. I actually kind of like Scott's friend. Her and I seem to have a fucking lot of shit in common, to be honest.
I'm scared. I'm very scared about this.
Like, she has a good job and shit. I like pets, you know? I feel like maybe you should be careful, Scott. I am kind of cooler than you to start off with. Yeah. He knows it too. Like I don't have what else she's looking for. I don't have a beard.
Like the gif I sent, I'm in danger.
I know, right? But yeah, I think we're on what, 22 now?
Yeah.
Let's sidetracked. All right, you go ahead.
All right, so my number 22. Sorry for any Canadians that are listening, but this is my one and only Cronenberg film. That is 1986 remake of The Fly. I mean, we've talked about this on episode just fairly recently, but, you know, a great relationship-based horror film, amazing body horror, amazing effects, and amazing performances from Gina Davis and Jeff Goldblum. Like incredible. Yeah.
Incredible.
I can't say much else because, yeah, like I said, we've talked about this movie just fairly recently on our body horror episode. But yeah, fucking love this movie. Loved it since I was old, when I watched it when I was a kid and was terrified by the me. And the, oh, God, yeah.
Or like when I'm like, just shoot him, bitch. What the fuck you waiting
for? Right. And then the emotion that goes with it, though.
Oh man, it is such a fucking good film. That was actually on my list. The only reason I took it off is because I knew it was going to be on yours, and I did.
Oh, really?
Doubling up, yeah.
Nice.
But that was also in my top 25. I did replace it with something else, but I want to give a shout out to The Fly, 1986. Mwah. Canadian pride, right fucking there, man. Excellent director, excellent filmmaker. David Cronenberg. Hope you stay with us for a long time. And his son is coming, and he's actually dropping a new movie this year.
He's got another one?
Yeah, he's coming. A new one's coming out this year.
No shit.
Looks good. It's about a resort that people go to.
Ooh. Oh, Brandon Cronenberg, you have my interest.
You have my attention. I thought you were going to say Brandon Orlick. I was like,
Oh,
Yeah, I
Brandon
guess he has our
Brandon
attention
Orlick,
too.
he already knows he has my attention. That
Brandon
sexy boy.
Orlick from the Exploding Heads Movie Podcast. All right. I bet you're wondering what my 22nd is.
I am curious about everything that's on your list going like
Has
this
anything
whole
been
time.
a shock so far?
I'd have to go back and think. I know there was a couple, but I can't think of them off the top of my head right now.
Oh, that's okay. It's a lot of movies. This one though, I think you won't be surprised about because of how much I loved it and how I went on and on and on about it. It was during my stage where I was watching only film festival movies, and I was like, yes, I only watched film festival films, and that is The Shrewd's Nest, 2014.
Oh, nice.
And this movie, fucking Spanish films, man, they don't hold back ever.
No.
They go all out. And for anyone who hasn't seen this movie yet, it is a great examination of social isolation and abuse and what can happen over time, and the society that we build for ourselves and the world that we build for ourselves. It is a very heavy film. It is extremely well acted. The main fucking lead in this film, like, mwah, to whoever she is, like, fucking incredible. It's a shame as English speaking people like Scott and I, generally speaking, we don't learn about other international stars, probably because their names are harder to pronounce. Like, let's be real, right? Like, we're English speaking. We're not gonna. There's people like Venom. And there's Derek, and there's people that can go and list, and Brandon Orlick as well. Venom from Fresh Cuts, Derek from No More Room in Hell, and they can give names of other international stars. I can't. I can maybe do directors, but I can't do stars. And I think that's a real fault of us, but it is what it is. But for those of you who haven't seen The Shrewd's Nest, if you enjoy Spanish horror films, and you enjoy very detailed stories, and I don't want to even say a slow burn, this is like a thriller / horror, whatever you want to call it. It's a fucking phenomenal film, and I really recommend checking it out.
Yeah, this is a very, very good movie. Like,
hit me in the feels.
Yeah, I'll say you recommended it to me, and it hooked me as soon as I started watching it.
Right. And it's a gut punch. It's a gut punch. I really wish I'd seen this in 2014. It probably would have been my number one of that year.
I could see that.
If I had watched it then, but I wasn't watching the amount of movies I'm watching now.
Right.
But yeah, fucking phenomenal film. But anyway, I'll pass it over to you for number 21, Drinking Age in the States.
Yeah. All right. So number 21 for me is a 2020 horror film, my number 2 of that year. Ooh. And that is something very similar to a movie I just brought up, May, and that is Rent-A-Pal.
Fuck yeah, great film.
Man, this movie, it stars Will Wheaton as Andy, who is basically a personality on a videotape, because this lonely guy it's based in the 90s. He's a caretaker for his mother who has dementia, and he's, doing what he has to do, being the older son, taking care of her, which means he has really no social life. So he does.
And he's already socially awkward, right? Like, yeah. But you can tell he's a nice guy, but he just is having a hard time meeting people, but he's a nice person.
Yeah. So yeah, he does what it would be considered the 90s version of online dating, which is renting VHSs at this dating site, and you watch these videos of these potential candidates for you, and if you match up, you call up the store and say, hey, I want to meet with this person, let me know if they match with me, blah blah blah. Then that's how you connect. And like, he ends up getting this one that's just called Rent-A-Pal, and it was basically like a videotape of someone that's lonely, needs a friend. Well, here's Andy will talk to you and keep you company. And then this movie just goes on this ride of just like showing how lonely this dude really is, and that how obsessed he becomes with this videotape, and how much it gets into his head, and how much this poor guy just starts deteriorating from like just dealing with everything that he deals with, and like bad luck after bad luck, and just once again another anti-hero, or protagonist that you just feel for, because like what he ends up going through is just like so heartbreaking, and he's just, like you said, a wonderfully nice guy, and just socially awkward and weird, and just not having a life. And man, like, you just feel for him so bad, and the performances all around in this are absolutely incredible, and it's the reason it was my number 2. This movie is just so fucking well done.
Absolutely. Like, I don't know what else to add to it. I didn't include it in my top 50. just because I don't know how much I would rewatch it because it's so sad for me. I would have a hard time rewatching it.
Understandable.
I know somebody that's like this. I think you may know who I'm referring to. And I think that's why it's too hard for me. It's a little too close to home.
Yeah.
But that doesn't take away from anything of the film. The film is fucking amazing. So if people haven't had a chance to watch this film, it was my number one, it was Scott's number two, and it was Brandon Orlick's number one from last year. So very, very high praise coming from the three of us. And we don't always see eye to eye on films. We all saw eye to eye on that one.
And this is one I think I ended up recommending to you guys, and it shot up to your number ones. And I'm going,
it did.
Holy shit.
It did. It was a great fucking movie. So mine takes a different bit of a turn. So this one was a replacement because Scott had already said mine in his top 50. So I didn't see the point of repeating it when we had a week apart. So I pulled another classic for me that I love. I love it. It's one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. And I will stand by there would be no Scream if it wasn't for Student Bodies 1981.
Nice.
And, or sorry, no Scary Movie. My apologies. No Scary Movies if it wasn't for Student Bodies 1981. And if you haven't seen Student Bodies from 1981 and you are a fan of slashers, you need to fucking watch this movie because it is fucking jokes.
Oh, like, it so is.
Makes fun of everything from When a Stranger Calls to any like Fatal Exam, any single fucking or Final Exam, any single fucking horror film that you have ever seen from the 80s that's a cheesy slasher, Student Bodies makes fun of. I've talked about it. I praised it. One of my favorite horror comedies of all time, number 21 on my list. Check it out if you haven't had a chance to.
That's awesome. I was wondering because I was kind of surprised I didn't hear it last episode. So I was like, does she really have it in her top 25?
Well, I didn't, but then I had to be a little like creative. So I flipped my hair, by the way, everybody. My hair is getting really long now. Remember when I used to have my hair really short, Scotty?
You did.
Yeah, look at it now. It's like Rapunzel level.
For all
those DMs, I'm gonna put it up my window so they can climb up my hair. It was great. No, they're gonna climb up your beard, Scott.
Yeah.
Like CC Top.
Just taking my head out the window. Grab on.
All right, get my head. All right. What's number 20 for you, my friend?
All right, we are into our top 20s. My number 20, I think this may be the first maybe the second big franchise that I mentioned. And that is 1984, Wes Craven directed A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Fuck yeah, booyah!
Fuck, this movie is just incredible. It is the creepiest and scariest that Freddy Krueger has ever been, and and the effects for the time absolutely insane. And what a fucking great idea for a horror film, like just coming about a killer that comes and kills you in your dreams. How do you avoid him? You can only stay awake for so long before you end up being forced to fall asleep technically because your body shuts down and the damage it does to you when you don't fall asleep. But yeah, like, and how do you convince people that people are getting killed in their dreams by a killer because no one else sees it? They can't believe you. So there's layers to this film, and then to create the icon and it's what created the icon that is Freddy Krueger. And Robert Englund just does such a fucking fantastic job and is just so creepy and intimidating. Like, this movie is just awesome all the way around.
I'm so glad that you brought this to the table because we know I love Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, it is not in my top 50. It would be in my top 100. And the reason why is because I think I've watched it so much, I'm tired of it. That's why.
Fair.
And I think when you over binge on something, you kind of get a little like... And I kind of get tired of people fucking blowing the first movie. I think that the first movie is great. Awesome. But I enjoy part 2. And now after watching that documentary from a couple of years ago, I have a fucking higher appreciation for part 2.
Yeah, so do I.
Right? Sorry.
But I'll say, like, part 1 and part 2 are like the only ones where Freddy Krueger is truly like scary and intimidating and not being the jokester that he is.
I love when he shows up at the pool party. I'll be honest. I know we're talking about part 2 here, but I fucking love that. I think it's fucking creepy as shit and says, "You're all my children." I know people criticize that scene. I loved it. I thought it was great. I like all the Nightmare on Elm Streets, even the 6th one.
I am a sucker for Freddy's Dead.
Yeah, like, I just think it's fucking funny. Like, that's what I thought the point of it was supposed to be. But I think nothing can take away from the originality of the first one. And yet again, when that first one was created, Wes Craven never envisioned sequels. That wasn't the plan. And I think we forget that. And I think it's like Halloween, like Friday the 13th, nothing like even Leprechaun Child's Play, you name it. None of this shit was meant to have sequels. Like Leprechaun was never supposed to be in fucking space or
Right.
hood. None of this shit was never supposed to happen, but it did, and here we are. And I think that sometimes it's hard to go back in time and just appreciate it for the masterpiece that it is. My 20th movie is a little bit more recent. It's also an anthology. It is VHS 2 2013.
Nice.
Fucking love VHS 2 2013. Best VHS film out there, and I stand by that. All the stories are good. Like all the stories are fucking awesome.
Yeah.
My favorite is the GoPro with the zombies. I love that one.
Oh, yep. My favorite is The Cult.
The Cult one is awesome too. They're all awesome. Awesome. I think most people are familiar with the VHS 2. The concept of finding a videotape. All Hallows Eve did that well too. The concept of following a videotape with stories on it. A lot of respect for All Hallows Eve as well. And I think VHS 2 fucking nailed it. One of my favorite anthologies, hands down. Awesome, amazing. Can't say enough good things. If you haven't seen it, please check it out.
Yeah, amazing anthology. Definitely the best of the VHS movies. And like you said, every one of these are great stories in this. And
the wraparound's good.
Yeah, the wraparound is really good. Like I get them mixed up with the other ones, but yeah.
Like, it's not bad. Like it doesn't stand down and you're like, oh my God, best wraparound ever. But it flows. You don't feel like it's fucking stupid. Like that's probably the biggest thing, right?
Right, exactly. All right. So jumping on to number 19 for me. And this was my number 1 from 2020. And that is from the director that did The Battery, which I'm trying to blank on right now, but it's After Midnight.
Fuck yeah, great film.
This movie, like everyone knows my love for relationship-based horror films, and I've talked about this movie a bunch during the year it came out and we had it on our relationship horror episode, that this helped me get through a hard time when I was still processing everything that I was going through. And like the dialogue in this is just fucking brilliant. It's a realistic story of like how a good relationship can go wrong. Because it's not like you're just typical fighting and screaming and like like how they make it in the movies. No, this is just like it tackled like real issues that can happen in relationships where you just get too comfortable and like you just don't want to go and do anything fun anymore, and you just kind of become a recluse at your house and just want to stay there and don't want to do anything adventurous with your wife or girlfriend. And I love the idea of the beast that comes after midnight representing like depression and loneliness for this guy when his wife is away, and how it just continuously attacks at the door. And it is, and it actually does have kind of a happy ending. They defeat the beast and get back together. Like he defeats his loneliness and depression.
Ending.
Yes.
Like when he's singing the song "I Only Hear What I Want To" by Lisa Loeb.
Yeah.
And then the fucking thing happens. You're like, ah!
Yeah, like, that made me jump out of my fucking seat. But yeah, like amazing movie, amazing dialogue. Once again, the director was also the actor. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name. I'm not looking it up right now. That's why. But he acts. He's the main character in this movie again, like just like in The Battery, and he does a great job. And yeah, I love this film. It means a lot to me just because of what it helped me get through. And it's always going to be like one of my top movies to go to now.
For sure, right? I agree. I think it was one of the best acted, written, low budget films. And more movies like that. There's some acting chops and there's some directing chops there, and I hope to see more.
Yes.
And for me, number 19. So this is a little bit emotional for me. Mark Nato, if you're listening, you're not going to like this one. The very first podcast I ever did was with Kill the Cast, and that's how I got my first podcasting friend. Actually, the first person who friended me in the community was Venom.
Aww.
After hearing me on this episode, and he complimented me. And this episode covered the 2016 slasher Terrifier.
Nice.
And the first time I saw Terrifier, I did not know what I was getting into. I was like, oh, it's some stupid fucking clown movie. And what I love about this movie is the ability to create fear without saying a word. The bar scene, or the scene where those chicks are at the pizza place, for all my individuals who listen to this podcast that identify as female, whether you're trans, straight, asexual, gay, you have been in a situation where someone has creeped you out, probably male, at a diner of some kind. Maybe female, maybe. Could happen, but more likely a male staring at you, making you feel uncomfortable. And how these young women react is very similar. I felt like I was watching a real situation play out. And I know people shit on it for that, but they've never been a young woman at a diner at fucking 2 o'clock in the morning and experienced shit like that.
Right.
So it happens. And it's not okay. It doesn't matter what they're wearing or what time it is. That's not okay. Just so we're clear. And I think the kills in this, like when I saw him slice the chick in half, I was like, what? Or the chase scene and who you think is going to be the protagonist, and it fucking switches up halfway through. Or the scene with the homeless lady where he steals her doll that she thinks is a real baby, and the emotion behind that scene. It's fucking incredible for a low budget, yet again, a low budget made on a shoestring budget film. You have to appreciate, even if you don't love the film, you have to appreciate certain scenes like that came together with the acting, with the money that they would have had for special effects, and the ability for Art the Clown to invoke fear without saying a word. That is an impressive protagonist. Michael Myers did the exact same thing and be like, oh, not the same, not as good as Michael Myers. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm saying it's the same kind of concept. And I think Terrifier is one of the best slashers to come out. I consider it a slasher. I don't care that he uses a gun for one of the fucking kills. I'm so tired of that stupid argument. It's a slasher film. But I'm glad you feel the same, Scott. I know you're a fan of Terrifier as well. Both of us are hoping to see Terrifier 2 when it ever
I can't wait.
Right? So yeah, not only do I have fond memories of this because it was my first time podcasting on my.
It was your first.
Microphone. It was.
You always remember your first.
It's true. And you know, I really appreciated the kind feedback that I got from that. Like I was such a newbie and I was so scared and I didn't know what I was doing. And I still don't, but now I'm funnier at it, so it makes it okay. But yeah, that movie is my number 19 for me. I love it.
That is awesome because that movie is just so creepy, and like David Howard Thornton, performance from him is all body language, and he is like, so incredibly intimidating. And
totally.
The whole thing with the gun, like I hate that argument because the way I look at it was he is a slasher. He got fucking fed up because he kept like doing everything to this person that he could, and the person was still alive. So he got fed up, went and grabbed his last resort, which was his gun, and just fucking just you could see the frustration in him because he even does the whole exasperated like sigh, and then wanders off and grabs his bag and grabs the gun out of there. Like no,
it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, like it's disturbing as fuck. It does feel like it is the last third of a slasher film because it does feel like the whole like final girl chase scene, but like done for a whole movie. So I can see why some people may not like it for that reason because there isn't a lot of story to build up off of that. But
no, there isn't.
But at the same time, like this is low budget, and it just pretty much goes, we're not going to do a lot of character development. We're just going to throw you straight into the good gory slasher
you
stuff.
Get character development.
I mean, yes, but I mean, like compared to like some slashers where it's a slow burn till the third act. There is no slow burn. This just kind of goes.
I hear exactly what you're saying, Scotty. And my comeback to that is not everything needs to be Halloween 1978. Okay. Exactly. The character development is these two chicks went out to the fucking club and they went to a pizza place and some dude creeped them. That sounds like men talking about not knowing what it's like to be in that situation. And
exactly.
I said what I said. So and I think that, and that's like, but here's the thing. If you didn't like the movie because you didn't enjoy it, that's for sure. Like, absolutely. But what character development did you need? Do you need to know the backstory about why they went to the club and went to the pizza place? Like, it's a simple, basic plot here. Not everything needs to have an extended plot to it. I think if we look back at like fucking Final Exam, was that a super deep film? Or was the other one the sports one? Fatal Games?
Oh yeah, Fatal Game.
You can barely follow the plot of that. Like there's so many 80s slashers. Or Terror Train. I watched Terror Train recently. There's not much of a fucking plot of that either. Just so we're clear. It's like hanging out on a train for an hour and a half. What that is. Listen to Slumber Party Massacre for our review of it. And it's not to say those aren't good movies. They're entertaining. You have a good time with them. And that's exactly what Terrifier was supposed to be. So I don't know. I think when people criticize people for liking Terrifier and thinking that if they like Terrifier, they won't like other highbrow films. I don't know. I went from having the Shroud's Nest to the Terrifier within 4 movies. So obviously there's a variety here on the list. So thank you, Scott, for bringing up that argument and allowing me to state my frustration with it, because I know that's not your argument.
Exactly.
But it just irritates me when people use that because I just don't think it's valid.
I was like, because we know people like that have brought up those points.
Yeah, and I think it's fine not to like a film. Like yet again, like it's fine to say, "Oh, it didn't do anything for me." I missed the character development. To be like, "Well, no character development, so that makes it bad." Well, what fuck more did you need? Like,
Right.
like, I don't get what else you were looking for here. But yeah, anyway, we'll move on from Terrifier, which we've already talked a lot about. So, what's your
Right.
18?
My number 18 is good old Stuart Gordon directed 1985 H.P. Lovecraft short story adaptation, and that is Reanimator.
Nice. Awesome.
Fucking Jeffrey Combs as fucking Herbert West. Amazing. He's got that deadpan humor. This is like, a black comedy. Like, there is humor sprinkled throughout, but it's a really good horror film. And like, it is like, just a messed up version of Dr. Frankenstein is what Herbert West is. And just reanimating corpses and his obsession with trying to get it right. So, we need something that's a little more fresh. Let's reanimate this one. Oh, that one didn't work. All right, let's try this one. Let's try this one. Oh, now we just got all these weird experiments that are just running wild and we can't stop them. And then fucking, he has the professor in the school that's creepily hitting on Barbara Crampton, who like one of her, I think this was one of her first horror films, and obviously why she became the star that she is because obviously, like you said in our last episode, she was eye candy for the movies.
Beautiful.
And her acting wasn't the best. Like she came off of soap opera, so she kind of had that soap opera style acting.
Well, and that's not what people were hiring her for.
No.
She was using her tits and shit. Like, let's be real. And then when she came back, because Hollywood does not treat women kind when they age, though she still is beautiful, because beauty isn't defined to an age, she's been able to show her acting chops, which she has acting chops, right? Yeah. So,
but yeah, like I was just like this movie is just a lot of fun. It's demented. It's got some pretty shocking scenes. I mean, severed head trying to give Barbara Crampton head.
Oh man,
it's
such a
fucking
great
disturbing
fucking movie. Yeah,
but and just some great one-liners. Like I love the note "cat dead, details later."
Such a good fucking film.
Oh, it is. And then, yeah, obviously Jeffrey Combs just steals the show, and I got to meet him a few different times now. Such a one, like you were talking about how Felissa Rose was just like a fan favorite and people love her. That's how Jeffrey Combs is. He is just such a lovely person, so like appreciative of his fans and just so friendly and funny in person. Like he signed my Reanimator box set and he just said Scott Crawford parts all in capital letters. And, like had like just started laughing about it and like he was just a very friendly, just super awesome guy to meet. And but yeah, awesome. Loved this movie to death.
And I'm really glad that you're sharing that experience with it. I watched it through a guy I dated back when I was, 23. He actually showed me The Thing too for the first time. And his
nice.
Sorry. On the same night.
Yes. My man.
He was actually quite a bit older than me. That was like quite a bit older than me. He was about 14 years older than me at the time.
Wow. Look at you.
I know. I don't think I've ever told Scott about him.
You have not.
Scott. One other times. He was a drummer in a band, and I used to go see his local shows and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. It was a time. We'll put it at that. It was a time.
Oh, now I got lyrics to a song in my head. She was walking hand in hand with long-haired drummer of the band.
He did have long hair. He had long red hair. And he had fucking tats all down his arms, and he looked like he belonged to the Hells Angels. Like, wow. Legit. He looked like he was like going to be part of a biker gang.
That is wow.
Yeah. Anyway, little story there for the side, but anyway, he showed me Reanimator, and it was amazing. I remember being like, "Holy fuck, how did I miss this movie?" And that's sometimes what you need people to come into your life for, is to show you movies,
right?
But yeah, no, awesome fucking movie. This was another one I had to replace because Scotty mentioned, I can't remember which one it was. Maybe it was We're Still Here. So I replaced it with The Grudge 2004.
Nice.
I loved this movie when it came out. Now seeing the original Japanese film, I really enjoy that film as well. But I really thought the American retelling of it was really clever. I liked how they set up Sarah Michelle's character to be in Japan, the setup with going to the house. And I thought the Grudge character was fucking scary. When it comes down the fucking scares, that fucking ghost, terrifying. Like, and you don't have to watch another
Yeah.
fucking videotape. You just need to go in this fucking house. Doesn't matter who you are. And it fucking comes for you. It doesn't matter. And I loved this movie so much that I remember like back when, like, you know, you were young and you posted stupid shit on your Facebook. Well, some people still post stupid shit on their Facebook.
Yeah.
But like, I actually came home from seeing The Grudge, went onto my Facebook because I was on the computer at the time. You didn't, like, you know, you could get it to you on your phone, and wrote, "Do you have a grudge?" Because I love this movie so much.
Oh, that's great.
I was 21. Hashtag living my best life. So love it, love it, love it. The ending always made me sad. The whole movie fucking made me sad. What happened to his family made me sad. I even like The Grudge too. Not enough to put on my top 100, but I do fucking enjoy it, and I can watch The Grudge with Sarah Michelle Gellar over and over again. I think it's a fucking awesome movie. So yeah, that's my number 18.
That is a great choice, because yeah, like when we did our Japanese ghost stories episode, I think this was the one I said was my favorite American remake too. Like, it was just like just super creepy the way the ghosts were, and I dug Ju-on, and you know, I wasn't a big fan of a lot of the Japanese versions of these films. Just because they,
you're not really cultured, no.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it was. But are we at number 17?
We sure are, sir.
All right, let me check the date real quick to make sure I got the year right. Okay, I did. All right, so I got another 1985 film for my number 17. Another just kind of a black comedy in a way, and that is, I will start off with, "Do you want to party? It's party time." That is Return of the Living Dead.
Oh, you love this film so much.
Oh, this movie is just so much fun. Fucking it's just got great characters all around. Like, it's like the 80s punk style characters, fucking just partying in a cemetery. Then, you know, the got the mortuary next door, and the freaking and like the medical supplies labs next to that. And yep, they have this, just happened to come across this canister containing trioxin, god, I'm gonna get, so everybody's yelling at the screen right now, but I think trioxin 242 or something like that. But it's the gas that military used to awaken the dead to use as soldiers. And well, one of the canisters kind of cracks open and releases the gas, which in turn awakens all the dead in the cemetery and cause havoc. And this is one of the first zombie films where the zombies are speaking, and I think is the movie that created the trope that zombies crave brains. And I love that they actually interrogate that half corpse woman and are asking her, like, "Why do you crave brains?" And she's just like, "For the pain." And just like, yeah, they crave it to kind of satiate the pain that they are feeling of being dead / alive. But man, like, it's got such iconic scenes in it, iconic characters, and of course, you know, a very young Scotty appreciated Linnea Quigley's trash dancing on top of a tomb completely naked to like some punk music. I mean, young teenage Scotty. I mean, come on now. I think that was every boy's fantasy back then.
And ladies,
that's true. That is true. Right. Yep.
All inclusive podcast here, Scott.
That is true. But yeah, this is just a fun film. This is something I throw on July 3rd every year, because that's when all the events of this movie happen. So right before Independence Day for here in America, this is the movie that I tend to watch.
Awesome choice. I remember watching this one. I remember being like, "What the fuck is this shit?" And honestly, as time has gone on, I've enjoyed it more and more. So I'm not surprised that it's on your list, and I'm glad you brought it to the table.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, because I knew you weren't like the hugest fan the first time you watched it. But yeah, I know how you like are like, okay, this is the first time watch, and then you kind of sit with it for a while, and you kind of see why it's favored.
It's fun, right? And here's the thing: everyone has fun with different films, right?
Exactly.
Like, you know, at the end of the day, you like what you like, and that's absolutely fine. It is a fun and it's a classic film. It's well renowned, and a lot of people do dig it for a reason, right?
Oh yeah.
I thought you were gonna be like, "Going on a fall break."
Oh, I did. Oh, I should. Gonna have a good time. Going on a fall break.
Fall break. Anyway, my 17 is also a horror comedy. And I remember when this one came out, I was like, I love that there's a horror fans. Like, I knew what the fuck I was talking about, but I still decided that this was my opinion of this film. It came out in 2012, and it is Cabin in the Woods.
Nice.
one of the most clever movies I've seen that takes horror tropes and really brings them to life. First of all, it capitalizes on Evil Dead.
Totally does.
And then all the ghosts that are in it and the haunted fucking objects. And then when they get, I think my favorite part is when they go into like that cube thing and it has all the different ghosts.
Yes.
And then all the ghosts come out of the elevators and kill everybody. Oh my God. Like the monsters or whatever you want to call them. Fucking mint. The ending was the only thing about the movie I didn't love. The ending still makes me mad to this day because I was like, there's no closure.
Well, sure there is. The angry god awoken.
It's true.
The
And
end.
everybody's dead. But I like how they turn into different roles. Like the girl takes on the role of the slut, and then like
And like how she was like,
yeah, the girl takes on
brilliant...
the role of the virgin, and they're like, well, we work with what we got. Like
Right. Well, what I was saying, I love that because like with the slut character, like she was before she went to that cabin and got her hair dyed, she was like a really smart, intelligent college student, and then she got her hair dyed, and they used some chemical to make her like just kind of ditzy and like her hormones get aroused.
Right? Yeah, and like the dude, they make him into like an alpha fucking man, and they're like,
yeah.
You play video games, like, or he plays D&D or something like that. I forget what they said to him, but like, or he has a 4.0 GPA. Like, he's also really smart, and he's anyway. Cabin in the Woods was fucking brilliant when it came out in 2012. It's brilliant today, 10 years later. Glad they never made a sequel. Unnecessary. It's a great standalone movie. You don't need anything else with it. That's all I gotta say.
I was like, yeah, because I agree. Like, this movie's so much fun. Once again, a great cast of characters. And like just an awesome idea. While I wouldn't want a sequel, I would love to see like either like an anthology of different places in the world doing this, because it showed cameras like, oh, the Japanese are doing this to these people.
Right.
I would just like to see little short stories of like something
that
like that'd be kind of fun.
With.
Yeah,
that I would be cool with for sure.
Just to see more monsters, like from that world.
Agree. That would be a lot of fun. I agree with you. But yeah, that's my 17. So what's your 16, Scotty?
All right, my number 16. This is also, I believe, another 80. Well, I know it's an 80s film, but I believe this one is 1988. Let me double check because I am not prepared. Okay, I'm 1987.
You're close enough.
But the people that have been to my house know that I am a huge fan of this. The house. But know that I'm a huge fan of this movie if they go into my basement and see the 6-foot tall statue I have sitting in the corner. And that is Clive Barker's Hellraiser. Oh, God. Jesus wept. Man. Such a just dark movie and like a brilliant story. Like just the idea of this puzzle box that is like a gateway to like another dimension that is basically hell, but it is demons that give pleasure to the point of too much pleasure and causing like extreme pain, because to them that is pleasure. And the monsters, like the creatures in this, the Cenobites, look freaking disturbing and horrifying, and the lead hell priest, aka Pinhead, is just such an intimidating figure. And man, like everything about this story just works for me. Like this is like I talked about it on our podcast before. This movie is one of the first, well, not one of the first, but like one of the big ones that has stuck with me since I was a kid, when I snuck down and seen my parents watching it on VHS, and I was watching Uncle Frank build himself up from that drop of blood. And when he like starts forming and he does that like baby cry scream sound.
Yeah.
And I was just around the corner watching, just like as a little kid, just watching my parents from behind them. And I just bolted upstairs and hid underneath my blankets and was like terrified, and then had nightmares for weeks just because of that scene. But yeah, this movie is just incredible. It's sexual. It is definitely the perverse mind of Clive Barker, which like is brought on screen. And I just cannot wait to see the new adaptation that is going to be coming out, because I'm very curious to see if they are going to be as ballsy and do as much as they did for this original film.
I hope so.
But yeah, there's a reason Pinhead is an icon. Doug Bradley just portrayed that character so fucking well.
And it was my number 11.
Was it really?
Oh, yes, it was.
Nice.
So I have swapped it out for something else, but to give a shout out, Hellraiser is a fucking phenomenal film. The discussion of pain and sexual pleasure, the Cenobites, when they appear, like the makeup, like the scenes where that worm is off after Christy, like what could this movie not do, where she confronts Pinhead Talk about a fucking amazing final girl.
Yes.
Right? Fucking fighting demons and shit. Like, that shit's for real. Like, you don't get more real than fighting and fucking up demons. So Hellraiser deserves its place. It was number 11 on my list. It has been swapped out for something else.
Nice.
But mad respect for this film. Clive Barker, wow.
Yeah.
Remake, reboot, bring it on. Let's see what else we got.
I'll say, bringing in a female androgynous style Pinhead. Fuck yes. I can't wait to see it.
So my 16 is also a real good feel-good movie as well, that you've brought to the table with Hellraiser. This one is called the Suicide Club 2001. Ooh. Suicide Club 2001 is one of the heaviest films I've ever watched. I would like to thank Jerry from Kill the Cast for getting me to watch it. One of the best films I've ever seen of talking about society, social media, pressures, demons, like inner demons of suicide. It really explores the concept of suicide well. It is a dark film. There is some very upsetting scenes in this film, so I want to caution people before they watch it. Heavy film. Excellent film. I don't think Scott's had a chance to watch it yet.
Nope.
Hopefully one day before we finish podcasting, he'll get an opportunity to, because it is a awesome movie.
Yeah, because I really want to see it, because I know you've loved this movie like from the beginning, like since we started talking. Like I knew like this is like became one of your favorites. So I expected it to be somewhere on this part of the list.
And it's a very, if you enjoy Asian horror, this is one that you should not miss out on. It is an incredible film, but I will caution again, it is a very heavy topic. There are children's scenes of suicide. So, go into this knowing that it's very, very dark and it's very, very heavy. And if you're not in the space for that, that may not be a place for you right now. So please keep that in mind. Watch with caution. And we're going to pause for just a second. So, after this commercial break, we'll be right back. Scott?
After these messages, we'll be right back. Cha-cha.
This'll keep it quiet. Oh, hi there. I didn't see you. You caught me cutting a new show. I'm Bo Ransdell, and I'm one of the many creators you can find on Legion Podcasts. I said quiet! My fellow podcasters and I work hard to bring you the best in horror podcasting, but that comes at a cost.
Wouldst thou like to live deliciously?
Not that, but also yes. No, what I'm getting at is that there are server costs, costs for good microphones and software for editing, all the things that make our shows, fun to listen to. And you can help. If you're enjoying the shows on legionpodcasts.com or in the Legion Network available on iTunes and Stitcher, just about anywhere you can download a podcast, really, you can help us out and get a little something for your trouble at patreon.com/Legion Podcasts. For just $2 a month, you get a pair of movie commentaries exclusive to Patreon, and for $5, you can also join us for a monthly screening of a movie. All of that available on patreon.com/Legion Podcasts. We appreciate it, and thank you for listening. Now, back to the cutting room.
All right, and we are on to number 15. So, Scott, what's your number 15?
All right, so some people may be surprised that this is 15 and not higher, but it is my all-time favorite movie in this franchise, and this is Friday the 13th, Part 2 from 1981.
I am surprised it's not higher. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it would be in the top 10.
Originally it was, but after these few, these 2 years of having first time watches and then having also these movies that I've seen in the current generation, it's made me think of my list and what I watch more and more. And, I think it's kind of like you with Nightmare on Elm Street, where like I've just watched these movies so much that they're just not something I go to nearly as much anymore.
I get that.
But I still love this movie. Of all of them, this is my all-time favorite of the franchise. I used to say Part 2 and 4 were tied for number 1, but as years have gone on, I have just come to love Baghead Jason, and I love the characters just as much as I love the characters in Final Chapter. Like these characters, like you can root for them. Freaking Amy Steele as Ginny, as like the therapist, and that's a college student that's gone through therapy, doing the therapist stuff and learning psychology, like using psychology against Jason. Thought was really cool, and she's an amazing final girl.
Absolutely.
And Jason's extremely intimidating in this, where he's still human and he's still kind of like deformed mountain man. But man, this movie just had everything I liked. The kills were incredible. Jason was extremely intimidating and just dangerous. And yeah, the cat just had amazing characters. And yeah, it's Friday the 13th. It's just a very good slasher film.
I could not agree more with you. I think 2 is really entertaining and moves really quickly as well.
Yeah.
Which I think, I don't know if 1 does as much. Like, I enjoy the first one quite a bit. It's a different film. Like, it's a different, Friday the 13th, let's say Friday the 13th, not the first one. Let's say Friday the 13th. That wasn't meant yet again to be a franchise.
Right.
It was meant to just be a one-off film.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that one definitely plays out differently than the sequels because it plays out more like as a whodunit murder mystery. With just really good gore.
Yeah, with great gore, but I think the Jason lore that starts at the tail end of the first movie, when he technically pulls her into the lake, leads to the second movie. And the second movie does a great job of setting the premise.
Yeah.
And, Jenny's a great character. Everyone, Paul's a great character. There's some great characters in that. I like the bar they go to. I enjoy being at a bar. I can't wait for bars to open again. I just said that so I could talk about being in a bar.
I know you did.
I miss bars. But yeah, great film. Surprise is so high, but I get it. You and I, as hair flip, beard flip, we're much more seasoned now. We know a lot more. We're kind of big deals.
We're such a big deal.
Absolutely.
With our dozens of listeners.
Dozens.
We love you all.
We want to thank y'all. My number 15 is another Japanese film, and it was a first time watch from last year. It is Paul's 2001. Scott knows how much I love this movie.
Oh, this one affected you really good.
It really did. It was heavy. And I just find that Japanese films are so much further ahead of the curve. Like Suicide Club talked about social media and internet and killing yourself. And Paul's talked about the evils of online. Sorry, my dog's barking and I'm in the middle of talking. So I apologize for people that hear that in the background. Homegrown podcasting right here. Definitely when you look at Pulse, for those of you who haven't seen it, please don't watch the American version. Like it is what it is, okay? Like it's a 2000 American film. Like it just
misses the point completely.
But it misses the point that the Japanese film was trying to present with how people become disconnected through technology and what it can do to people. And it is a fucking phenomenal film, and it's so subtly scary. There's a particular scene with an elevator that is extremely creepy. And I think that if you haven't had a chance to watch these two films, Suicide Club and Pulse, which are, neck and neck for me in terms of some of my favorite Asian films, Japanese films, check them out. They're fucking great. I know, Scott, you weren't a huge fan of Pulse, but I know you at least appreciated it.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for the film because it did tackle a very heavy subject, and it was just a bit too slow for me on that one because it is a very slow burn.
It is very, a very slow burn because that's just how Japanese films are. Like these ghost story Japanese films, and they're slow. You really got to be invested in it. And there's certain slow. And here's the thing about the word slow. Or slow burns. What is a movie here's a great example. Scott and I watched The Lighthouse together. I thought I was going to die. Incredible camera work, incredible acting, beautiful set design. Understood the line delivery, just wasn't my thing.
Yep.
Scott loved it.
Yeah.
Right. And why did you love it, Scott?
I just loved the characters, and I loved the whole story of like Poseidon and all this stuff all the stuff that you could kind of pull from that film.
Yeah.
And like obviously everything that was just the technical aspect of it as well. Like I just loved it as a whole.
And for me, you also loved The Witch.
Yep.
Right. And I loved Pulse and Suicide Club. Now, Scott hasn't seen Suicide Club, but I know he won't like it as much as I did. He'll appreciate it, but he won't like it as much as I did. All four of those movies are slow burns. So I think when we say slow burns, it's important to acknowledge slow burns also with your interest.
Mm-hmm.
Scott is a big interest in mythology. He's very knowledgeable when it comes to that. He understands it a lot better than I do, and he cares about it more than I do. I care about some mythology, but sometimes it loses me. The Lighthouse lost me. As much as I appreciate the quality of the film, it just wasn't a film for me. And I think that's really important to think about when Scott and I talk about slow burns. Because slow burn can mean different things depending on what your interest is. So almost when we say slow burn and you may not like it or someone doesn't like it, typically means that their interest wasn't in that topic. Right. And that they weren't interested in the character development that was going on and the story that was going on. But all 4 of those movies are incredible films, and I think deserve to be watched, and you can evaluate what you like or not. I just wanted to highlight that, Scott, because for people that have listened to us, I think it's important that they understand that both of us appreciate slow burns, but it's different types of slow burns
Yeah,
that really connect,
exactly.
right?
Because like there are so many different varieties of slow burns, and some just hit you differently.
Right, but they're still being able to walk away, like both of us do, and go, but that's an excellently made film.
Yes.
Like whether I like Saint Maud wasn't anywhere near my top 10 or top 21 this year. I didn't even give it an
Right.
award, right? But that doesn't mean I don't respect the fuck out of that film, the acting, the writing, everything. It just didn't do it for me.
Exactly.
It wasn't my go-to. Doesn't mean it's a bad movie, and I feel like that's the difference.
Yep,
Right?
I completely agree.
So anyway, I guess we're on to 14 now.
All right, so number 14. Let's see. Yep, okay. So this is definitely not a slow burn. But this is a sequel, and that is I think it is my all-time favorite slasher. Like I hope I put this correctly in my list, like where it should be, because it, like I always claim, this is my all-time favorite slasher, and I will stand by this. And that is 1988's Sleepaway Camp 2: Unhappy Campers.
Fuck yeah, that's a great one.
Man, I just love this movie. Pamela Springsteen does such a fun, like she's not the greatest actress in this film.
No.
But you could tell she's having a blast, and she makes Angela just very fun and entertaining. They obviously got the idea of wisecracking killer from Nightmare on Elm Street and rolled with it with her in this, because obviously in the first film she barely spoke a word, and in this film you can't get her to shut up. And at the same time, like her obsession with just wanting everybody to be good campers in her eyes, and like if you do something wrong that is against like what you should do as a good camper, she is going to be uncaring and murder the shit out of you.
Oh fuck! And the murder scenes in this are mwah.
Yes.
Mwah, the gore. Fuck yeah. Like fuck yeah, Sleepaway Camp 2.
And once again, has great characters all around in this one that you feel for, that you root for to get killed with some of them. And like, I mean, just some unique kills, like the fucking outhouse porta potty death is just
awesome,
awful, and just horrible. Because she's got these slashes all over her back, and then being dumped in toxic waste basically, and just constant infection. If she didn't die from drowning, she would have died from
she would have gone septic for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, just all around a lot of fun with it. Like you could tell everybody made this movie and we're just having a lot of fun with it. And like, yeah, Pamela Springsteen just takes the cake as Angela for me in this film, because yeah, you can just tell she's having a great time and just brought her own style of Angela to the table. And yeah, this movie is just something I throw on every summer because it's just it's an easy watch and it's just a lot of fun.
Absolutely, Scotty. You said it perfectly as always. My number 14 is a movie I saw in the theaters. And I remember seeing this movie and being like, and that's how you do a fucking infection film. 28 Days Later, 2002.
Nice.
Fuck, man. I'll never forget sitting there in the theater and watching our main protagonist wake up in a hospital and everyone's gone. And it's just him. And he's been in this fucking coma. He has no idea what's happened. And he's trying to piece it all together. And I remember thinking, this is how we, whether you consider that a zombie film or an infection film, that movie did something different. And much like Night of the Living Dead did something different at the time. And 28 Days Later, as an English film, did. And one of the scenes that always stands out to me is there's a part where the father and the daughter, like there's a group of them traveling together, and he gets some blood in his eye and he's changing, and he tells his daughter that he loves her very much, and then they have to kill him, and it is heart-wrenching. There's also a part where an older female sacrifices herself physically. She offers her body so they leave the younger one alone. And I remember being like, yeah, I would do that in a heartbeat. Like I would do that. I'd be like, no, take me, leave her alone, take me. Right. Like I would. And like, even thinking about that scene makes me emotional. I just think that movie pulls you into its clutches and doesn't let you go. And I saw it in the theaters and I was hooked, and I've watched it several times since. When 28 weeks later came out, I thought it was okay. Like I enjoyed it for what it was. But to me, the original just fucking has its place, and it really pulled feelings from me. And to me, that's what makes a movie.
Nice. Yeah. I'm being quiet on this one because I watched it once shortly after it came to DVD and haven't seen it since. The only scene I remember is the blood droplet landing in the guy's eye, and that whole scene and how that escalates. but I do remember really liking it and it being very intense. And yeah, you are right. It's a unique take on infection. And like and then I do remember the whole how this whole thing started came with from the monkeys in the lab.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this is something I've been wanting to rewatch because, like I say, I don't remember it. It would almost feel like a first time watch for me, and I'd never seen 28 Weeks Later.
It's not a bad follow up. It's not as good, in my opinion, as 28 Days Later, but I don't think 28 Weeks. I mean, it's a big piece of shit. Like it is what it is, right?
Right.
But 28 Days Later, that's the characters in it and the relationships, and doing something different, as we can see by a theme that I like, is political themed movies and movies that do something different.
Mm-hmm.
That not the same shit we've seen for the 18th time over, like something different. And I think 28 Days Later did that in 2002. So
yeah, that's a great choice. And yeah, speaking of a certain style of a theme slash, I guess, subgenre in horror that is totally up Scott's alley, we are going into slapsticky, gory horror comedy with this one, and that is a wonderful classic. Starring Bruce Campbell, directed by Sam Raimi, and pretty much a sequel. Some people call it a remake, but it is Evil Dead 2 from 1987. Fuck this movie. I love this movie so much. Bruce Campbell comes in. This is pretty much where Ash became the icon that he is. Mm-hmm. Part 1 Ash was a completely different Ash than Part 2 Ash.
Yes.
And Part 2 is where he's getting these one-liners and he's quippy and he's like a smartass, and he is basically Sam Raimi's punching bag for the whole entire movie, because Sam Raimi's just like, I want to torment the shit out of Bruce Campbell in this film and beat the living snot out of him in every single way possible. And he does. Like, it's funny as hell because it is literally the physical comedy is what makes me laugh in this. And it's amazing. I've watched this movie countless times. I couldn't even count how many times on my hands I've watched this. I just love it to death. Bruce Campbell, it does such a fantastic job. And like, yeah, the other side characters, yeah, they're okay. They're nothing special, but this is a vehicle for Bruce Campbell to shine his Ash with some just great over-the-top style special effects and great over-the-top gore. And one of the scenes that I just love every single time I watch this movie, and I just giggle, is pretty much when he finally just snaps. He's sitting in the rocking chair. He's just completely drained and exhausted from all the shit he's gone through. Then the chair collapses underneath of him, and all of a sudden the deer head just turns and starts laughing at him. And then he looks around and everything else is starting to laugh at him, and he just fucking snaps and he starts laughing, and he just starts following and like going up and down with the lamp and just stops, pauses, and then they bust out laughing again. And I'm like, I lose my shit every time I see that scene, because it's like, yep, this is where a man has just fucking lost his goddamn mind, but it does it in such a fun way. This movie is just so much fun to me. Like, once again, a movie like all these that are on this top 15 list are things I pretty much watch on a yearly or more basis.
I know it's your fave. I know you love it, and I'm not surprised it's here.
Right.
I think the first time I watched it was with you.
Yes, it was.
And I enjoyed it. Not as much as you do, but I do appreciate it for what it is. My number 13, I actually already mentioned it earlier. I kind of gave it away a little bit. One of the things I liked best about this movie is the lore behind it, that George A. Romano purposely hired a Black protagonist. But he didn't. He just hired who he thought was best for the job. And that is Night of the Living Dead, 1968. I think this movie... Man, where do I begin? It starts off in a graveyard, and the brother and a sister are coming to say their respects. I think it's to their parents.
Yep. They're coming to get you, Barbara.
And they do come to get her. And I've never been able to walk by a cemetery the same way after seeing that film. And when they get to the house and the power dynamic struggles within that house and the choices they make is extremely enlightening of what would actually happen. We've seen this with COVID. There would be dumbass people who would not want to work together to get things done. And the zombies are slow moving, but terrifying at the same time because they swarm you. And the ending is not surprising and probably would still happen today. And I said what I said. So
You are not wrong.
And I think that says something from 1968 to now. And I don't think that was George A. Romano's purpose behind that film, because his casting choice wasn't done purposely. It was just done of who was the best actor for the job.
Yeah.
And I think that this movie, I think most horror fans have seen it. I think most people love it. I think most people praise George A. Romano, rightfully so. And this is why it falls as my number 13.
Wonderful. Like, this movie is a classic, and there is a reason for it. This movie is still intense and terrifying, and yeah, it shows not only has a like social message behind it, like even if it was not meant to be there, it still does. And it also shows human behavior when trapped inside, kind of like what the mist that I talked about last episode does. Shows human behavior and how people react differently during a stressful situation like this when they're trapped together. And yeah, like this is just an incredible film. I'm glad you put it ahead on your list, because this was on the list originally, and I ended up taking it off to add other films because yeah, I do love this film. But yeah, once again, there's so hard to make this list.
It is. And I think also with this movie, I think our lists are also really reflecting. If you look at my movies, majority, like I would say 50% of them have political messages to them.
Yeah.
And then there's a bunch of funny comedies that sometimes have political messages to them. And then just, fun shit like Waxwork, where it's just a fucking goofy choose your own adventure fucking wax museum shit. I thought about Waxworks when we were in the wax museum when we went to Niagara Falls. But like, we all have what we like, right? And it's not to say that other movies aren't great. There has been movies that Scotty has said that I haven't put on my list that are fucking phenomenal films. They just didn't fall there. So this is where it's fun. We did have some samesies though. I will say we did have a lot of samesies. So yeah, if you want to bring it in with your number, where are we now? 12.
My number 12. We're still rolling with the whole slapsticky, over-the-top, violent, humorous horror film. This one is a very early project of one well-known director, Peter Jackson, made in 1992, and that is Brain Dead, Dead Alive.
Oh my God, of course it is.
This movie is so fucking funny. So fucking gory. Probably still to this day one of the most goriest films out there, like practical effects wise. Like, and the one thing I love about this film is that this was like a true independent horror film where Peter Jackson and like his small little team did everything for it. Yeah. And it's just got that Kiwi style comedy from New Zealand that just fucking hits perfectly. It's so silly. It's slapsticky. Once again, I just like in these type of movies, I always got to talk about the scene that makes me giggle the most, and it's the main character taking the baby zombie in his stroller down in the public, and it's just he's literally just kicking the shit out of it, throwing it in front of cars.
It's hilarious.
Because normally if it's a baby, you're going, oh, that is awful, but this baby, it just looks so goofy and monstrous. It's just like, and it can't die, and it's just coming back every time, and it's just funny the way it's done. It reminds me almost of like, what if Monty Python decided to do a zombie movie?
Absolutely. What a great comparison.
Like, it is just so fucking entertaining. I just love everything about it. Like, I watched this, I think when I was like 17 years old, because I had always heard about it, never seen it, went to the video store, rented it, not realizing I rented a R-rated version. And I'm going, really? This is what people are talking about? I mean, it's funny, it's entertaining. This isn't that gory. And then I realized I rented the R-rated version. There's an unrated cut. I'm going, well, how much different could it be? So I rented the unrated cut and brought it home, and I'm going, oh, okay. Yeah, there's a lot they did not add in the R-rated version. Holy shit. But yeah, this movie is just so incredible, and goes to show like the talent that is Peter Jackson and why he has the movies that he does now underneath his belt, like Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit trilogy, fucking King Kong, and he's just a master. Like, now he deserves to be where he is in his life as a director.
You know what? I'm not a huge fan of the film, but I love the practical effects of that film, and I respect it because Peter Jackson fucking is the bomb diggity. Like, he fucking nails it out of the park. And yet again, this is a situation where maybe it's not one of my favorite films, but I respect the fuck out of it because it's an incredible practical effects, does what it's meant to do movie.
Yes.
Like, it is what it is, and it presents it the way it wants to be presented. And I got nothing but respect for Peter Jackson because I like that shit more than I like Lord of the Rings. Yes. I do not love Lord of the Rings. I enjoy the battle scenes. Those are the only things I like in Lord of the Rings. The hobbits are annoying as fuck. I'm sorry. And the ending scene, it took 20 minutes,
51.
20 minutes too long for that fucking movie to end.
I will admit, Return of the King's ending just had about 10 endings, and it was driving me nuts
It
when
was
I stayed up
ridiculous.
late to watch it.
So, but I do love the battle scenes. I do love those a lot.
But you have insulted my Hobbit heritage.
I know you. Yeah, I don't know.
Because I too have Harry. I too like Second Breakfast and Harry
feet. You're
Feet
say
and
Harry
Short.
Balls or something like that.
I do have Harry Balls.
Why don't you respect my Harry Balls, Heather?
And I do enjoy the Hobbit leaf occasionally.
Or do I? My number 12 is a movie that is near and dear to my heart. I remember seeing it in the cheap theaters when I was on a date. You know, one time I was a sired.
Oh.
I know. I gotta enter in the crickets for the DMs. Cricket. But I know. You look like Popeye right now. You're like spinach. So this movie I've seen many a times. I remember watching it on Halloween many a times. I fucking love it. I could watch it over and over again. I could quote lines from it if anyone didn't think I was a big stupid loser. And it's Sleepy Hollow 1999.
Nice.
I love the story of Ichabod Crane, and I love how fucking Johnny Depp brings this character to life. He is so funny.
Oh, he's great.
So great. And there's just some giveaway lines where he shows up at the house and they invite him in. They're like, "You are welcome to join us, sir. You mean if you are here to sell something?" Like, it's so funny. Or like they're giving him shit like, "This is the only book you need to read, and it's the Bible." And like and Christina Ricci's character, and I had half a mind to give you my heart. Like, I love it. I love how she like tells him off, "You have bewitched me." Like, it's one of the few romantic fucking movies that I like.
It's so good.
Literally one of the few. I love the story of the Headless Horseman. Christopher Walken is great in it. Everything about this movie just fucking knocks it out of the park for me. It's one of the best folklore stories brought to life on the screen, and I love it. Sleepy Hollow 1999.
Fuck yes. This one is tied with Beetlejuice for Tim Burton's, one of my favorite Tim Burton films.
Beetlejuice is another excellent film too.
Like, I just love this movie. Once again, it's a very stylistic movie too. Like the way the blood is, like everything about it, and it's gory.
I love the costumes. I love Christina Ricci's outfits in it. I want to dress like that. I want to go back to that time period and be Christina Ricci, because she was like a feminist within being in this small little village. And she just like fucking held her ground. And I just fucking love her. Love her in this. I'm not a huge Christina Ricci fan, but in that movie, man, her and Johnny Depp, I was like, the bomb diggities. Loved it.
Yeah. And once again, an amazing cast of characters, or cast of actors. Like,
and it moves quickly. The movie moves quickly. Like, it's not a slow movie. And I think it's very rewatchable.
Yeah. This is one I used to watch around Halloween all the time. I've rotated it out to like every couple of years now, just so I don't get burnt out on it, because like I do that with a lot of my stuff now. But I guess we are on to the number 11. And I did lie. I should have swapped these around, but it deserves to be number 11. But this is no, I'm gonna say it now. This is my favorite slasher, because as much as I love Sleepaway Camp 2, I just cannot deny the true art that is 1978's Halloween.
Bravo.
Like, we're at this point now where you've already brought this up, and I could have replaced it, but it is so close. These are films that are irreplaceable in my top 15, so I could not swap it out. There's just no way. But John Carpenter masterpiece. Fucking perfect use of lighting, beautiful score, just great way to build tension and atmosphere. And it is, like you said, a slower burn, but this is such an amazing, incredible film. And I'm not going to say much more because we've already talked about it, but
I agree. And I'm glad you kept it in there. I'm glad you stood your ground, Scotty.
I could not replace anything in my top 15. There's just no way, because that would not be true to myself.
Well, I did. Scott called out one of them last week. So if you have listened to that episode, you know that I already acknowledged what used to be in the number 11 spot. I have changed it. And luckily there was a movie that I had forgot about that really shocked my little Heather head when I went to see this movie. I was 21 years old when it came out. No, I was 21 years old when this came out. And I remember going to the theater to watch it. And I don't think the person I went with, also probably a date, I don't think he enjoyed it as much. I feel like this is definitely a divisive film for a lot of people, but I was shocked at the ending, and I was like, fucking bravo. And that's probably where I realized I really like politically charged horror films. And this is The Village 2004.
Nice.
One of my favorite M. Night Shyamalan Ding a Dong movies. As we know on this show, we call him M. Night Shyamalan a Ding Dong. Out of love, of course. It's a pet name. Well, it's a pet name I have for him anyway. I don't know him, just so we're clear, but I decided
she
it's
does.
my pet name. Yeah, we're tight. We're real tight.
Yeah.
I actually helped make Old.
That was who she was on the date with.
That's who I have. That with M. Night Shyamalan. He's only like 50 years older than me. It's fine. But anyway, I fucking love this film. I really did think it was a creature. Okay, for those of you, I'm gonna spoil The Village. I really thought it was a creature. Just so we're clear, I fucking hook, line, center thought it was a creature. And when I found out it wasn't a creature, I was like, what the fuck? Like that ending, I was like, what the like I'm pretty sure I was in the movie theater looking around being like, is anyone else shocked by this? Because I didn't fucking see that coming. Oh my god. And then it just like blew my mind. I'm like, they're trying to escape the very thing they become. Anyway, and that's when I realized I love political horror. So I want to shout out Dave C, because Dave C also likes The Village 2004. So Dave C, we are united. Dave C from the Exploding Head Movies podcast.
Well, and I also love this movie too. It's like us three.
And Scott loves this movie too. And so does Brandon. United.
Yep. And
United.
Just like you, completely caught me off guard. I was just like, what the fuck?
Right. And when that main character confronts that other dude that's like, what the fuck is this bitch doing? Like,
right.
Had to be that guy to be like, is there like a pioneer reenactment going on?
Yeah. What the hell's going on?
Right? The Village is just, and it's a really good character study of how you can try to escape violence in society, but you cannot escape it. Violence and jealousy and hate are something that is unfortunately embedded in humans. And I think this is a real good character study on that. So The Village 2004.
Excellent choice.
Now we're in our top 10, motherfuckers.
We have made it to top 10 shit. All right. Oh, man. All right. So once again, going for more slapsticky, over-the-top violent humor in this one, though this one is more a love letter to giallos, and that is 2014's Astron 6, The Editor.
Fucking hilarious movie.
My God. I love this movie so fucking much. And you can tell Astron 6, the guys in this team, are huge fans of this subgenre because not only are they poking fun at it, but you could tell it is out of pure love for these types of movies. Because, I mean, they even go as far as, filming the movie and then going back and overdubbing their own voices with their own voices, but just overdubbing it in like with a ridiculous like Italian sounding accents. And it is just so funny. It is so gory. And it's got a really good mystery story to it that like fits perfectly in the giallo category. Like, and it's like, I love just like how just tongue in cheek they are with a lot of what's going on. And they also just have a ton of homages to like different Italian films and different Italian directors. Like, I mean, hell, like the main character, like I think he was like, or the detective, he was in the library looking around and found a book about the Three Mothers, which is, a nod to Argento's Suspiria, Inferno, and Mother of Tears. And also while he's in there, all of a sudden a bunch of tarantulas start coming out of nowhere, and that is a nod to Lucio Fulci's The Beyond. Hell, right? They even have a nod to Videodrome with the breathing tape and all that stuff. But yeah, it's Canadian horror. I know they said, like, I watched a lot of behind the scenes stuff on this, and they said this was one of the hardest films to make and also get distributed because not many people were familiar with what they were trying to do. But like they nailed it. The dialogue in this is smart, it's funny, and they are great at telling the story. And it's a good mystery.
It's amazing. It's a funny fucking movie. It's awesome. I'm so glad you referenced this to me, and I'm glad I watched some Italian giallos before I watched this.
Yeah,
it made a lot more sense.
Yeah, I was gonna say because you would still watch it without it, and it'd be entertaining because it's funny. But at the same time, like you would get the references way more on why things are being done.
For sure. Great pick. I know you love it, and I know you love Astron 6, so I'm glad you brought that to the table. My number 10 is a recent film. It is from my 2020 list, and it is, and I'm going to say it and I mean it, my favorite exorcism film of all time.
Nice.
And it is The Cleansing Hour.
Yes.
And I get all those people that are rolling around right now pissed off that The Exorcist isn't one of my favorite exorcism films. It is a very good film. All right, no one is taking away from The Exorcist here. This is a personal list, but The Cleansing Hour is fucking sick. It is. I can't even start to talk about how good the demon is in it. The voice, what they say, the chick that it takes over and how she acts, the makeup, the relationship, the kills, the ending. It is dark. It is a dark film, and it is a fucking roller coaster from the beginning to the end. It is on Shudder, and if for some reason you missed it last year, I strongly recommend checking it out.
This is such a fun movie, and it's dark, and the ending is just
dark,
really dark,
real dark.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's great. And I there's a lot of exorcism films out there I like. I do enjoy The Exorcism of Emily Rose. I do enjoy The Exorcist. I do enjoy the Conjuring films, which in essence, by the way, everyone are all fucking Exorcist films because that's what they're doing throughout the entire thing. But The Nun as well, great exorcism film. Well, not as good as this one, but I think this film is just brings exorcism films back to life. I just think it's so good. Kill the Cast recently covered it. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to them, they're back. They covered this one. So please check it out. And yeah, love it.
I'm glad you brought this to the table because this movie is so much fun.
So Scotty, what is your number 9?
All right. So my number 9 is my all-time favorite horror anthology. That is 1964, directed Masaki Kobayashi's Kwaidan.
Really?
Yes. This Japanese anthology is just so freaking incredible. It is like each story is basically like a piece of art. It is so well done. This is an anthology that does not have a wraparound, and it does not need one. It is just one story after another. There are 4 stories in them. All of them are incredible. 1 or 2 are a little better than the rest, but this is just such a it's the rare anthology where the whole movie is done by one director. Like all 4 stories are done by one director. And yeah, this is just a gorgeous piece of cinema. Each story is creepy or heartbreaking, and it is just so wonderfully acted. And it's just everything about this film is a pure masterpiece. This is like I said before, these are all 10 out of 10 films, and this would be an 11 out of 10. Like, it's incredible. And like anybody that is into like international films or Japanese films and you like anthologies, I highly recommend watching this because like these stories, not only, like I said, are just creepy, but they are also like some of them are very just kind of heartbreaking and emotional and just, and I mean, hell, it's a long anthology. I think it's like 2.5 hours long and it's only 4 stories, but that's because one of the stories is the length of a full-length movie. I think it's like an hour and 15 minutes. And that is about Hiroshi the Earless, about a monk. And like, yeah, these are all like older, like the feudal Japan era of Japanese, like the stories are all based in that time period. And so it's like, yeah, just all built on their mythologies and their like the beliefs they have in their cultures. But yeah, I cannot recommend this movie enough. This is like my snobby art movie of the show, but
hey,
fuck, is this
we all
movie
got it.
incredible.
I haven't seen it and I gotta watch it because with your praise, it's gonna be a good film.
Yeah, I was gonna say because even Brandon Orlick watched it for the first time for our anthology stories, and he like loved it.
So you would say it's a hidden gem?
It is, and it's sad that it has to be hidden. Like it shouldn't be. This is one that
it's
needs
not
to be
anymore.
Seen. Yeah.
We can show you the world. Lots of random horror movies. No, I got a real hidden gem on mine. A real highbrow. Highbrow, howbrow. Gonna shock a lot of people that I have it this high, I'm sure, but I don't give a fuck about you. Scott knows that song. I sung that song to him when he was going through some hard times.
Oh man,
about somebody else.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah, but it was great. It was a special time. This film is Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Nice.
1987. 3 years. One of these nights you'll be gone. Anyway, fucking love Dream Warriors. I don't give a shit. Welcome to Trying Time, bitch. Kincaid and him losing his fucking mind all the time. The wrist scene with the puppet and like fucking, I still can't. Oh, I can't watch that scene. I'm always like, it freaks me out so much. And I fucking love it. I love that they all come together and they use their powers to fight in the dreamland. I eat that shit up. I feel like it's never ending story mixed with some fucking like, I don't know, horror shit. It's so good. I love Dream Warriors. It is, if I'm straight up real, probably my number one Nightmare on Elm Street film.
Nice.
I just love the connection between the characters so much. I buy them doing it as a group. I get so sad when Nancy dies. Oh my God. I'm like, why? Like, honestly, like it hits me to this day. It is fucking this movie. And I love the theme song. Who doesn't love the theme song?
Right.
And the music video where Freddie wakes up at the end and it's a nightmare. Dawkins' music video where he wakes up at the end of it. I fucking love that too. The whole idea of like the mom being up. Oh, so good. So good. Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
It's a great one. And I played the nerdy wizard in that movie.
I know. You were like, fireball, fire. And I played the heroin addict.
Yes.
Oh, see? Dexter's like, I really wish you would get off the heroin, Heather. That's not true. I can't afford heroin. Scott's yelling at Dexter now. So basically there's a meme of Scott and I. Scott is the wizard and I am the chick that dies of a heroin overdose, because it's the only character that I could think of to be at the time that we were talking about it on air. Shouts out to Darren Wilson from the Psychosemantic podcast. Please check that out if you haven't had a chance to. Great political listening. And also Darren's the king of memes. So
He is the master of Photoshop.
The master of Photoshop. So what is your number 8, Scotty?
Well, you briefly mentioned this one earlier. It was not on your list, but you talked about it as when you were talking about other films. And that is 2015's Robert Eggers' The Witch.
I'm so shocked.
I know you are. But once again,
Clickety clack, clickety clack, clickety clack.
clickety clackety, clickety clackety.
Clickety clackety. Sorry, clickety clackety.
Oh, I love everything about this film. I mean, obviously, Heather has teased me over the years with the whole, how they made the movie? They made the house with the tools.
Did you know that in the work they made the tools? They made the house with the tools because they made it authentic.
God, you're such a dork.
And did you know that the house, they used the same camera from that time period because they made it authentic. They also starred them in the lighthouse because they made it authentic. I'm just kidding, but that's part. Just kidding, Scotty.
Love
The
it
Witch
so
is a
much.
great fucking film. It is. It's fucking so well done and well made and well acted. It's great.
Yeah, this is there, and Anya Taylor-Joy's like first ever appearance. Like,
really?
yeah, I think that was her first ever acting gig, at least
Wow.
well-known one. And I mean, obviously, we see where she is now in Last Night in Soho and a couple other
Yeah.
films that she's been in. She's incredible, and like I think she was 17 in this film.
Wow.
But yeah, amazing. Once again, amazing acting, beautifully shot, like amazing story. Like it is literally a folk tale from the 16th century New England. Like it even says like it's. I just love the idea of this. It's this super religious family gets tired of how this town is being run, like, and not by their beliefs, so they fucking pack up and go and live in the woods.
We're fucking out of here, fuckers.
Yeah, you all are fucking sinners. We're getting out of here. And they go out into these woods, and it shows that this family is not as not as good as they thought they were, and like are slowly getting punished throughout all of this. Like
Punished.
the crops are going bad, and then like they're starting to have delusions and seeing things, and like shit's just they're tearing each other apart. And the concept of the devil being this black goat, Black Phillip, I love the fucking goat. And apparently, from what I heard, this goat was a pain in the ass to work with. It was stubborn as shit.
It looks like it was stubborn as shit. They just incorporated that into the film.
Because I guess it almost gored the father a couple times.
I believe it. Goats like don't put up with shit, man.
No.
They're like, we know. We saw lamb.
Yeah.
We know.
We know. But yeah,
We know what farm animals can do.
That's true. But man, this film is just so well done. I love it. And the one thing that always annoys me when I hear people just talk about this film that they don't like it is, well, I couldn't understand the language. I couldn't understand it because the language they were speaking. It's like, it's old English. Yeah. It's like, it's old English. How do you not understand what the fuck they're saying? Like, I can understand you might have a hard time hearing because the father's voice is such a deep voice. Then turn on subtitles.
Yeah, there's an option.
Yeah, like turn on the captions. Like but yeah, like if that is your complaint, then I'm sorry. This movie's gonna not be for you then, apparently. But
then you're
like,
wrong.
Yeah, you are wrong. Like if that's your reasoning. Like if you don't like the story, sure, whatever. But man, this movie just hit with me on all levels. Like, because once
Mhm.
again, it's folklore, and I love folklore.
It absolutely, it's a great solid movie. As much as I tease Scotty about everything, he really does have good taste in films, and this is an exceptional film. Very well made, very well done.
Yeah, and you brought up a very good point about this film when you first watched it, how this could be a stage play.
Oh, it absolutely could, and I think the acting in it is out of this world. So yet again, when it's a stage play, when it has the capability to be a stage play, it's probably something pretty good.
Yeah.
My number 8 is a movie from this year. As we talked about, I enjoy movies that are different. I enjoy movies that do something that hasn't been done before. And that movie that did it this year is The Sound of Violence 2021.
Nice.
And I will stand by that. I know a lot of people don't love this movie. I think there's a handful of people that love it as much as I do. You listen to some podcasts of a bunch of dudes that loved it. I guess I'm with them. I absolutely love the concept of someone seeing something traumatic happen, and then sounds of people dying gives them comfort, and extreme painful ways of people dying. And the ending scene, stands out to me. I get it. It's not possible, okay? Like, I don't really give a fuck about it's possible. Neither is fucking Dream Warriors, okay? Like, this isn't about what's plausible. It's about what's creative and entertaining for me. And this movie will stand out as one of the most creative, entertaining films of a different concept that I have seen. And I really enjoy films that bring something different. And this brought something different. So for me, it's my number 8. And I talked about it recently, so we don't really need to go into great detail. But
Yep,
yeah.
Great fucking movie. And wow, I did not expect it. I did not expect this to be on your list. That's awesome.
I know. I'm just all, keeping it fresh.
You're full of surprises.
Full of surprise. Do you hear that, everyone? Full of surprises.
All right,
Scott, what's your number 7?
My number 7. Some people may be like, well, you said you were only going to put one from a franchise. I don't call this a franchise. I call this a trilogy. So I'm bringing another one from this trilogy.
I'm bringing it no matter what.
These are my rules, and I'm allowed to break them.
My show, and I do what I want.
Yeah. So that is from the year of my birth.
My birth.
1981, directed by Sam Raimi, starring Bruce Campbell, the original Evil Dead.
You don't say, huh?
Fuck this movie. I used to have 1 and 2 swapped around, where part 2 I liked better, and then part 1 was good. This one, as I've watched them both more and more, I like this one more because it is just straight up mean-spirited horror at its finest. Something that really hadn't been done. Like, obviously there was something that had been done because recently, not recently, but in the 70s, because Android brought it up on our that 70s top 5, where he said, it inspired Evil Dead. But it was something that I'd never seen before, and one of the original Cabin in the Woods style horror films. And it's so low budget, and what they had to do to make this film. This is true guerrilla filming, independent filming at its finest. For crying out loud, this was an abandoned cabin that they stayed in while filming inside of it at the same time, and they had fucking people homeless people coming in and crashing there while they were on when they walk away from the set for a while, but they had a lot to deal with, and everyone never acted in their life before and decided that this was just a group of friends getting together to make a movie. And it's mean, it's violent, it's terrifying.
Yep.
Yes, there is a very uncomfortable rape scene with a monstrous tree that Sam Raimi to this day regrets ever doing, because the poor woman went through hell that when she filmed it, and he feels awful for what he putting her through that. But at the same time, it's a horrific movie. It's terrifying. And one scene in particular always just makes me just cringe in pain is when the when the Deadite stabs Ash's girlfriend in the ankle with the pencil and just starts twisting it around.
That would be painful.
Oh, I could feel that when I watched that scene, and and I do love, even though it looks so dated and cheesy, I do love the claymation melting of the Deadites at the end when Ash defeats them. Or I should say Ashley, because he was not technically called Ash in this movie. But Bruce Campbell being a timid, kind of timid character, completely different contrast compared to his Ash in part 2. And but man, this film is just so well done for being an independent film, and it's what started this whole genre, and now why we have the Ash versus Evil Dead TV series and video games, and this is the start of it. And I love this. It's in my top 10 for a reason.
Absolutely. No, I think it's not obviously one of my favorite films, but I absolutely adore that film, and I adore your love of it more than anything else. I think it is an incredible film, and I think it shows what you could do with very little.
Yeah.
Right. Yet again, an example of low budget that is done well. For me, number 7 is a movie that used to be my number 1 because I watch more films now. It's moved. This movie came out in 2015, and this movie took a concept to an STD and moved it into the idea of being able to be passed around as an entity. And it talks a lot about sex, and it talks a lot about sexual identity, and how women own and have more to lose from sex, such as there's more of a stigma if a woman likes to have sex, she's seen as a slut, where a man is seen as a stud. The idea that women, conceive babies and that they're more likely to hold on to something and be ashamed of it. And that's It Follows from 2015. And this movie is creepy as fuck. I love showing this horror movie to people that have never seen it before, and I have yet to show it to someone who doesn't love it. It is creepy with the entity that follows, the fact that it can change to shapes and it just follows you forever, and there's no getting away from it unless you give it to somebody else, or it gets you. And even if you give it to someone else and they catch them, then they come back to chasing you. And I think that concept, yet again, fucking brilliant, something different. The acting is great, the relationships in it you feel for, and you really don't know at the end what's going on. And I think that's what makes this a phenomenal film.
I knew this would be in your top 10 somewhere.
Right?
I was waiting for it. Because I've known your love of this since we become friends. Like, that was one of the first things you told me.
Yeah.
And such an incredible film. And
it's moved because I've watched more films.
Right.
But it's still an incredible movie.
Yeah, it did not make my list, but it is an incredible film, and it's a Michigan-based film, filmed in Detroit.
Is it really?
Yeah, all of it's in Detroit.
See, there you go. Michigan people know how to do that shit right.
And an amazing score.
Yes. Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible film. And I know some people don't love it, and that's fine. But I think there's a deeper meaning behind it. And it talks a lot about sexual identity, and it talks a lot about the differences that men and women face with sexual interactions. And I think, yet again, some people don't get that unless they're a female, particularly a female who enjoys sex, which is me. And how when I talk about enjoyment of sex, it's seen as different and it's seen as almost shameful, but yet I'm the one having sex with the dude. Why isn't he ashamed? Like, How does that work? Right. So I think that it's really, really interesting, the film in general. And it's always had a big part. I've always found it really interesting, and the director's coming out with a new one this year, something similar about hearing. So I look forward to seeing what that one's going to be all about.
Yeah, I am very curious about that.
Right.
Yeah, because I think he did like a drama, like after It Follows. I forget what the name of it was.
I don't remember offhand.
But I heard it was really, really good.
Yeah, good director. He knows what he's doing, right? So.
Yeah. All right, so we are on to what, number 6?
6.
All right, so here is my all-time favorite horror comedy from 2014, directed by Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clement.
Nice.
And it is a New Zealand horror comedy, and that is What We Do in the Shadows.
Fucking awesome film. Awesome film.
This movie is so brilliant. Like, once again, this is like well-written dialogue and very witty, and just kind of a silly but fun idea of all these vampires from different time periods living together as flatmates. I mean, they have all different types of vampires. You got like the Vlad the Impaler vampire. You have Nosferatu style vampire.
The energy drainer is my favorite because we all know someone like that. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Fuck. Okay. Bill, he's really funny.
Yeah, he is hilarious. Like,
right.
Yeah. But yeah, the TV series, if you have not seen it, watch it. It's fucking great as well.
Yeah. The energy drainer in that is legit.
Yeah.
That's legit.
But yeah, I just love it. You even have like the very posh vampire that's like in like the Interview with the Vampire type, and like and they all have different personalities and like barely get along, but just like it's such silly dialogue, and just I love this movie so fucking much. We talked about it in our mockumentary episode, and I think we did it. Yeah, we talked a lot about it on our top 5 horror comedies with Horror for Dummies guys. It's just
great.
It came out in 2014 and became my all-time favorite horror comedy. And I think it was also Tim Davis said it was his all-time favorite. And I think Luffy also had it like high up there as well.
I think we were all like, yeah, it's fucking awesome. Like, how do you not?
Like, it's brilliant. It's fucking brilliant. And yeah, I can't say enough. I have too much love for this film. And like, yeah, this is something that I go, all right, someone that is not into horror, I can show them this movie.
And you have many dates.
Yeah.
Yes. I know,
well-
because you've told me about it.
Yep, I'll say it's just one that I can easily show anybody.
That is awesome. What a great selection. I love it. I love that movie. It's not on my top 50, and I think it's just because I forgot about it.
That's fair. And I was saying you've
Right.
only seen it like the one time so far.
Yeah, I think I've just seen it once, but it was still fucking amazing. It was still
Yeah.
really funny, and I'm glad you brought it to the table. My number 6 is going to be a film that probably not a lot of people have seen. It's also a film festival film. It was a first time watch for me last year. It is a French film about 3 young men who discover somebody has been kidnapped and their lives get turned upside down because of it. And it is Among the Living, 2014.
Nice.
This movie's fucking dark and heavy.
Yeah, very heavy.
Some really sad shit happens in this movie to kids. So be warned, but the fucking French, man, they don't hold back.
No, Fred show you everything.
And this is definitely one of my favorite films. Love it, love it, love it, love it. The acting, the character development, the relationship between the kids. It is awesome. My dog is freaking out, so I'm going to pause, Scott. But yes, one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, you had me watch this one, and I checked it out on your recommendation, and yeah, this was a very heavy film, but like very, very good. And like you said, yeah, the French do not hold back.
They don't.
They show you things to make you feel uncomfortable.
They're like, you upset yet? Good. You more upset?
Right?
We're going to make you more fucking upset. Martyrs is
Yeah.
another example of that. You
Yeah.
know, like it's anyway, Among the Living 2014. It is on Shudder for anyone that hasn't had a chance to check it out.
Yeah, great freaking choice. All right, so this one, I know we're in our top 5s now.
Yep.
And yep, these films all have a special place in my heart for one reason or another. And this is the true relationship-based horror film. And what happens when you stay in a toxic relationship for way too long and you end up finding this group of people that will treat you like family and accept you. And that is Ari Aster's 2019 film, Midsommar.
Oh, yes. Midsommar. Excellent.
Oh
choice.
my God, this film fucking heavy, very heavy right from the beginning with the suicide kill
Mhm.
with the sister and mother and father,
Mhm.
and also is one of the truest forms of anxiety shown on screen. Like
yes.
seeing Florence Pugh's character just have her panic attacks and like suffer from anxiety like she does, and like he lingers on these scenes when she's going through those moments, and
Certainly does.
it makes like someone that suffers from anxiety, it reignited my anxiety to a point.
Yeah.
And like it is so heartbreaking like to see what she's going through, and then to have her asshole boyfriend who just really doesn't care, and like the
And
way
all of
that
us have been in a relationship like that where you're trying to keep it together,
yeah
and you're like, why am I doing this? I know I have been there. I've
Yeah.
done that.
yep
hands
but I've been
down,
there.
Right.
I'll say like once again another movie that kind of helped me with like processing my last marriage in a way.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a lot of this like shit I could relate to, and but then yeah, also find like I can also relate to finding like a group of people that are very accepting of you and like welcoming you in and treating you well.
That would be
I mean,
me.
yes, exactly. You are one of those people. That's what
And
I'm
we
talking
also
about.
do sacrifices.
Yes. I was gonna say, except for there is a cult aspect to this one that
well,
is
it's like a cult.
yeah, it's a bit dangerous, but
It's called a drinking. You have to
Yeah.
be engaged in that cult when you're up here with
which
me.
is also a bit dangerous.
right. It's also dangerous.
But yeah, and I love like you know me, I'm a fan of like the occult and cult style
Yeah.
folk horror. This is definitely true folk horror. I can see why people would want to compare it to The Wicker Man, but it is nothing like The Wicker Man at the same
Yeah, it's just
time.
folk horror movie. People just
Yeah.
want to compare. They haven't watched enough folk horror, so they compare.
Exactly.
That's why.
But like yeah, this film is absolutely incredible, well shot, well acted, like amazing story. I know it's a bit too long of a runtime for some people, especially the director's cut, which almost runs like 3 hours long.
Yeah.
But man, I love like even in the director's cut, I'm going, I don't know how Ari Aster was able to cut this down to like the 2-hour movie that it is in theaters. Like all these scenes feel so important. Like I would have
Well,
had
there's a
like,
lot
if
of
I was-
flower scenes that he cut out,
That's true.
and there's a lot of table scenes that he cut out.
True, but yeah,
And a
I
lot
guess
of
yeah.
sky
Okay.
high scenes. I'm just being funny. Like I don't know exactly what he cut. I'm just trying to be funny.
I know, but yeah, and that's another thing too. Is I love things with Ari Aster that I love is he's very good at just subtly putting something in the background to kind of give you a little taste of what's to come, and like you can
Like
pretty
just a
much
tip?
figure out just the tip.
Oh,
Yeah, you can
nice.
figure out the whole movie if you watch like the first like half hour, like you can figure out what the events are going to be like if you catch the things in the background. Like he's very good at just subtly leaving things in the background, which makes this a, it makes not only makes this a great movie, but makes it a good movie that you can go back and rewatch and you can pick up on these little things like, oh, I didn't even catch that before. That's brilliant. And like he does that a lot, and like a lot of his stuff that he's done. And yeah, this film. Also, probably one of the most realistic hallucinations on mushrooms I've ever seen on film as well. Just because like with the subtle breathing of the flowers and everything like that, like it's
Agreed.
Oh, it is such a uncomfortable film, but it is such a good fucking movie.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And my number 5 is Scream.
Nice.
1996. And I feel like a lot of people talk about Scream. So I feel like I'm not going to do the diatribe that Scott just did with Midsommar. I don't think it needs it, to be honest. Like Scream's been talked about to death.
Yeah.
We all know what Wes Craven did in 1996. We all know what that movie did in 1996. We all know the shock of Drew Barrymore being the one that dies at the beginning of that fucking film. And that scene is like iconic now, of her making the Jiffy Pop, of her boyfriend being outside being tortured, the phone games that occur. It spawned 4 sequels. Neve Campbell became a fucking legend after that film in the horror community at release and made tons of fucking money. Courtney Cox already had Friends money coming in, and she made even more money off of this. And I think what Scream did really well is it treated audiences like they were intelligent. And it made it so if a fan was in a horror movie, which is I think what every horror movie fan fantasizes about. And it was one of the first horror movies I watched. It stuck with me. It stuck with me to this day. Do I think it? I've met people that are bigger Scream fans than me, so I'm very careful when I bring this one up because I understand that there's people out there that like this film a lot more than I do. I just really admire for what it did at the time, what it meant to me, how it got me into watching horror movies, and just the place that it has in cinematic history. So that's why Scream's my number 5.
Nice. I knew it was going to be in your top 10 somewhere. I had a feeling like. I was like, is she going to shock me and not have it there? But
I know.
no.
Can you imagine? You probably won't guess the remaining 4. You will be surprised.
I have like you always surprise me with your list. So I'm having a hard time thinking of what it could possibly be.
Keep the cards close.
Like me, you probably can guess the rest of my movies that are in my list.
Gremlins.
We'll see.
All right.
But number 4. Well, we just talked about him. Ari Aster's 2018 Hereditary.
No, because Scott sat in the parking lot with a big Scott Crawford after this movie.
Oh, who's the Scott Crawford? I'm Scott Crawford.
Scott, do you need to go on for 5 minutes about Hereditary 2, or can we get to the point?
Obviously, like everyone knows my love about this movie too, and once again, like the whole behind this, like watching the background stuff in this film as well.
Absolutely. Heavy.
The thing that I did not mention with Midsommar, because I wanted to say for this, is Ari Aster is a master of capturing grief on film.
Absolutely.
When Toni Collette just breaks down and just starts scream crying after finding her daughter Charlie like beheaded, that I was in the theater and people, there's always like a little bit of noise in the background, people chatting or whatever. It went dead silent. Like it was uncomfortable in the theater, like hearing just her with her emotions crying like that. And fuck, this movie is just incredible. Once again, my love for cult horror films, and this one has that cult, and like everyone should know about Hereditary. I'm not going to go into it anymore, but yeah, I love this movie so much, and it is like one of the most incredible films out there.
Already asked her, man.
Yeah.
Already asked her. Like, what can you say here? Toni Collette, you're right, Scott. Both Midsommar and Heredity are exceptional movies, and I'm not surprised that they're in that order on your list.
Yeah, they had to be.
Right.
This. Oh yeah, no, like this is the film that after the theater watch, I went and sat in my car, and it's the first horror film in years to unnerve me. Like to the point where I sat in my car and was smoking a cigarette for like 15 minutes, just going, holy fuck, I need to process this. This was intense. Like I've never felt like that in a long fucking time.
For anyone who doesn't remember the movie, check out The Golden Glove. That's what Scott looked like in his car.
Oh God.
Just kidding.
Wow.
I'm just kidding. Scott. I'm just kidding.
I know
people
you
are like,
are.
now everyone's gonna go check out The Golden Glove on Shudder.
And now we're sorry.
I look like this. Yeah,
we're sorry because
it's a movie film. You feel gross afterwards. You feel like you need a shower just after you watched it. My number 4 is a 1970 film, And it is a film that it took me a really long time to find. And I knew that I wanted to see it because of the rain jacket. And it is Alice, Sweet Alice.
Nice.
That is how high that film up is on my list.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. That's shocking.
That's awesome.
Right? So I don't know if this is considered a giallo. Is it?
No, I think this is like a proto slasher.
Proto slasher.
Yeah.
So fucking good. I love the fact that you really don't know who did this murder throughout it. And I love some of the people that get their comeuppance in this film, particularly an old creepy man. He deserved it. I stand by that. And it is just a fucking awesome film. Some people may find it slow. It's definitely a 1970s film. I talked about it in my 70s list, and it's my number 4.
Excellent. That is awesome. That is
I
very
came out
good
of left
fucking
field
movie.
with that one. You probably didn't see that coming.
Yeah, you see now here I am going to be the basic bitch of horror with these next three.
No, don't do that. I'm the basic bitch here. I'm even wearing a sweater that has all the fucking horror icons on it right now.
Well, I mean,
more basic bitch than me.
But you're coming in with Alice, Sweet Alice. Well, I'm coming in with my number 3, Ridley Scott directed 1979 Alien.
How could you not, though? Great fucking movie.
Like I once again talked about this on the top 5 70s horror films. So if you want to hear me gush about that film, go back and listen to that episode. But I will just say this is a masterpiece in sci-fi horror, extremely haunting and scary, and it feels like a haunted house in space. And the alien is just so terrifying.
Agreed.
And it's just got like he did some amazing world building in this film.
Couldn't agree more. For me, my number 3 is a tearjerker for me. I saw it at home. Took me a long time to sit around and watch it because at the time I was like, oh, I don't want to watch movies with subtitles. And I thought it was going to be dumb. It was probably the most emotional ending of a movie I've seen in a really long time. And that was Train to Busan 2016.
Oh, wow. Nice.
I love the characters throughout this, the father and daughter, the people they meet on the fucking train, the kids, what some of those kids are forced to do with their friends later on. You feel for everybody in this fucking situation, and you feel the panic. You feel the panic of people with crowds. And I remember after watching this movie, shortly after I went to something called the CNE, which is the Canadian National Exhibition, and took the train in, and there's crowds.
Oh.
It's pre-COVID, right? And I was like, oh my God! And I just watched this film, and I was overwhelmed, and still the ending scene with the father and the daughter fucking stays in my mind, and the ultimate sacrifice he makes. And the one character, the female character that I didn't think was going to live, and bless her fucking heart, she's a fucking boss, man, because that was pregnancy done well in a film where this chick fucking somehow made it.
Yeah.
And I love this film. The sequel was a little bit more of an action flick, Peninsula. It was okay. But Train to Busan, love it.
And yeah, you are right. That is a tearjerker film. Like I was like in tears with this film. It was so heartbreaking, and just like like you said, every character in this you felt for. I mean, you hated a few of them, but like some of them you just like really felt for what they were going through.
And the sacrifices that some of them make.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Right. And how people are treated. It's a great fucking film. Strongly recommend it for those who haven't had a chance to.
Yes.
So Scotty, what's your number 2?
My number 2, my all-time favorite director. And that once again, I feel this is like pretty basic, but at the same time, this movie deserves to be where it is. It is 1982's John Carpenter's The Thing.
And I took this off my list because it was Scott's. It was originally my 23rd. I took it off my list because Scott was going to talk about it. So I didn't want to steal his thunder.
This is isolation horror at its fucking finest. It is like a complete whodunit in a way. Like I love the fact that the alien could be anybody. Like even to this day, when I watch it, I could be like, I'm watching it going, is he the alien right now? Like, because like
who was the alien at the end?
Yeah, that like it leaves you with that question, and I don't think either of them were. I think they both just didn't trust each other, and they decided to freeze to death to stop the alien from fucking running.
Yeah.
And but no, the acting in this is amazing. It like the buildup of tension because no one trusts each other.
Yeah.
And then I mean Kurt Russell's beautiful mullet, beautiful hair.
Beautiful hair.
But
my name's Kurt Russell, and look at my hair.
Look at that hair. And of course, the all-time greatest special effects in any horror film, any movie ever done practically. Like, it's incredible that this is 1982, almost 40 years old now, and the effects are still some of the best that have ever been done for a creature design. Because Rob Bottin, who made this movie or made the effects for this film, I don't know how he came up with the idea for some of these, because they are just kind of like mind melting to try to even process how to make this. And to see the behind the scenes and all the work he did in creating these and sculpting these is incredible. And the monster is absolutely horrifying, because it is. We could have easily put this in in our body horror episode, because it's like it's changing your body completely, because it takes you over from the inside with just like a little bit of blood, and it's just horrifying. Like, and it's nightmare fuel, and it is literally a nod to Lovecraft. This stuff is like stuff that your brain can't process when it happens. You're just like, what the fuck is this? And
what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, or as in Kurt Russell, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Agreed.
Oh, the head spider, the dog monster, like it's just all horrific and terrifying, and it makes you feel the cold. Like,
it certainly does. It does make you feel the cold. And it's such a, like, I'm letting you praise it. Like, there's nothing that you're saying that I wouldn't agree with, but it was number 23 on my list, number 2 on yours. So I wanted you to express the value of this film. And the thing that came from Another World, 1951, was also an enjoyable movie for 1951. But the remake is yet again an example of a good remake, or a remake that people prefer to the original.
Right.
Great fucking film. Like, I don't know what else to add to what you said, Scott. You've said it perfectly.
Yeah, I'll say, and then the score is just subtle, but
incredible.
really fucking good. And it's a John Carpenter film where John Carpenter didn't do the score, like, but it was fitting, and just and the location just made you feel completely isolated in this outpost in freaking Alaska, or was it Antarctica? I think it was Antarctica. But like, I love everything about this. Like, it's such a good sci-fi horror mystery.
Agreed. My number 2 is one of the creepiest movies I've ever seen. And the one thing I really value about this movie, besides many others, is at the ending credits. That's where the creep factor gets turned up. When you get to the end of this movie and you realized what you missed in the background and multiple scenes, you begin to, and if you're someone like me who believes in ghosts, you begin to wonder what's real and what's not. And that movie is Lake Mongo 2008.
Ah, nice.
One of the all-time best mockumentaries. Emotional, so well acted that you don't think you're watching a mockumentary, you think you're watching a documentary. The grief, the pain, and then when you see in those images at the end what you missed, and you go back and you look at the film, it's unsettling. It stays with you. And that's a sign of a really good horror film, when you can go back to a movie and realize you missed things and it creep you out a little bit. It makes you, and of course it depends. Like, some people out there, maybe they don't believe in ghosts. I do. So it does a little bit more for me. The scare on the beach with what the young lady sees. Incredible film. How a mockumentary should be. Nothing can touch it mockumentary wise to this day. And I've seen some great mockumentaries. Like, I've seen some really good ones.
Yeah.
But they always come short of Lake Mongo status. And Lake Mongo is definitely my number 2.
I remember when you watched this, like, how unsettled you were.
Yeah.
And like how much it really affected you. And I watched it, and it definitely didn't hit me like it hit you, because I do believe in ghosts, but like, I think you have more of a belief. I
definitely have more of a belief than you do. I'm more superstitious than you are. Yeah, absolutely.
But like, that's not taken away from this film. It, like, you're watching it and you're going, this feels like it's real. Like, everything about it felt real. Like, it's incredible and very creepy. But yeah, that is amazing to see that in your number 2.
Thank you.
All right. So I've pretty much shown my hand, like, since we've started podcasting, what my number 1 movie of all time would be. I'm not even gonna dance around it. It's fucking Joe Dante's 1984's fucking Gremlins. Of course, it's Gremlins. I love fucking Gremlins. It's a movie I could watch a million fucking times. I never get bored of it. The puppet design is incredible. The story is just unique and fun. Sure, the rules don't make any fucking sense at the time, but at the same,
who cares?
But yeah, who gives a flying fuck?
Rules. No one cares.
Oh,
you don't watch Gremlins because you're worried about fucking rules. You want to see the cool puppeteering. You want to see the fun little story. You want to have the Christmas feel to it. It's a great gateway into horror. It's a great film.
It is, and it still has those dark moments that should not be in a PG-13 movie. Like, the kitchen massacre that the mother like slaughtering all the gremlins
No,
is
but
so
she doesn't die. Just
well
the
no but I mean
gremlins
like
die.
yeah but I
But
mean
yeah,
it's very violent.
it
And
is violent.
well, and then Kate's story talking about her father being stuck in the chimney, and that's when
Oh
she
my God, so
didn't believe
random.
in Santa. I'm like, oh, that is so dark.
It's so
um
random.
yeah, it is. Oh, I love this movie to death. Everyone knows it. The theme music, I fucking love it. Yeah, I I would be insulting myself if I did not leave this at number one, even though I was like, everyone's gonna know what my number one is. But yeah, number one, Gremlins, fuck yes. And anyone who disagrees with me and thinks I am being silly for it, bite my ass, because Gizmo is the cutest thing ever. I love him to death, and I want a little pet Gizmo.
Well, I'll tell you, one of my favorite things about Gremlins is it's one of the first things you and I went and did together.
We did.
Because we went to that movie theater that didn't pay its heating bill, and we listened to some kids drop their fucking Skittles all over the ground. And we
Yep.
watched Gremlins, and you met someone who loved Gremlins just as much as you did.
I
And
sure
I knew
did.
then that Scotty was my nerd for life. And we have a picture of Scotty and I with which Gremlin was it?
I think it was, well, there's only one that was well known in the first film. The other ones didn't have a name, but I think that might have been a puppet of Stripe.
Yeah.
Stripe, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And it was an awesome night. We actually had some yum yum food beforehand too, and yum yum drinks, which I always remember the drinks and the food.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't share the love that Scott does, and I know people think I really hate Gremlins because I play it up on this show, and I do not. I love Scott's obsession with it. I've supported his obsession with it over the years. As much as I come across as hating it, it's more of an act for this podcast than it is for anything else. Scotty loves this movie, and he has every right to love this movie. And I'm glad that people buy him stuff that represents it because it means the world to him.
It does.
Surprised you don't have a Gremlins tattoo yet.
No, like I said, that's gonna be the first tattoo. If I ever get a tattoo, it's gonna be
It's
Gizmo.
not gonna be Friday Nightmares.
Oh, maybe that'll be my tramp stamp.
You know what? I would do it as a tramp stamp. Be like, have you listened to my podcast?
Well, we got to this point. You better listen now.
You better listen and fucking download all the episodes, you motherfucker. And be a Patreon the Legion while you're back there.
But yeah, I will. If I ever do get a tattoo, it is going to be the very first, because I want it. Like, my dream is to have a Gremlin sleeve with Gizmo surrounded by all the iconic Gremlins. But the first thing I want to get is the centerpiece, which would be Gizmo with his little Rambo bandana and bow and arrow, paperclip bow and arrow from part 2.
Of course, and why would you not, right?
Exactly.
To jam. Scotty has no idea what my number one's going to be.
I am lost at this point. I am so curious.
There is a Spanish film that was recommended to me by Brandon Orlick. And everyone who'll know it will be like 1, 2, knock on the wood, 3, 4, knock on the door. And it is The Orphanage, 2007.
Okay. I have not seen this.
This movie, man, even talking about it stirs me up inside. It is an emotional roller coaster. It is about a woman who was raised in an orphanage, was adopted out, and has come back to that orphanage to reopen it. And while she's there, something happens to her own child, and she is dealing with the grief of the missingness of her child while learning the history of the house. And there's a game that they play that's like 1, 2, knock on the door, or whatever, 1, 2, knock on the door, 3, 4, knock on the wood, or something like that. It versus back and forth. And it's a hide and seek game, and it has a very big part of this film. And the ending of this film, I have never cried at the end of a movie like I cried at the end of this movie.
Really?
I was overwhelmed with emotion.
Wow.
And the acting is incredible. I do believe this is a hidden gem. I don't think a lot of people have seen it, and I cannot say enough good things about it. The Orphanage, 2007. If you like ghost stories, if you enjoy emotional roller coasters and some good scares for ghost stories, not like The Turning that came out in 2020. This is a movie for you, and it is by far, and it has moved up to my favorite movie currently.
I bow down to you.
Because my list was so different.
Because mine is the basic bitch of horror.
No, but there's nothing wrong with that, Scott.
I know.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I love what I love.
Right. And I wouldn't be the horror movie fan I was today if I hadn't met you.
Yeah.
Like, to be honest with you, none of these movies I would have watched if it wasn't for Friday Nightmares, if it wasn't for you and I challenging each other to watch first time watches. So every year, Scott and I do first time watches, not just for our 2021s or 2022s or 2020s. we do it for all movies.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we do repeat some watches here or there. I'm sure Scott and I have watched like a Friday on 13th or whatever that, you know, he watches Return of the Living Dead. You know, he has his Christine, he has his traditions that he sticks with, but we push ourselves to watch different films. And honestly, that is the most rewarding thing I've ever done.
Same.
Because I would not have the variety on here that I have if it wasn't for getting out of my comfort zone and continuing to get out of my comfort zone. Recently, I saw The Kill List by Ben Wheatley. Fucking amazing film. There was another film that I wanted to shout out that I recently just saw. That's an older film as well. So let me just pull up my letterbox. Anything you want to shout out that you've seen recently that's a hidden gem for you, Scotty, or no?
Let me go to my list because I haven't watched anything new or anything for a first time yet this year.
Oh, The Canal, an Irish film, an Irish.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Fucking awesome film. There was another one, The Lodgers, another excellent Irish film based on folklore. Really, really enjoyed that one as well too. So yet again, The Last Matinee, finally saw that one. It's on Shudder. Fucking check it out for everyone that missed it. Great movie from last year that was dropped. Like, this is the thing. When you force yourself to watch new movies, you're seeing movies. I saw Jugface, 2013. Excellent folk horror movie. Can't praise it enough. And that's where these lists come from, is from, you know, forcing yourselves to watch new movies.
Yes. And yeah, I have not watched anything new since right before Christmas. I watched Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, The Initiation. I tormented myself on that, so no, I don't recommend that one. But,
film.
Yeah, but I'm looking through, and yeah, the last one, like, been a long time since I've seen it now, but the Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price.
Good film.
Like, I've been going through Vincent Price's catalog slowly but surely, and I think I only have like 3 of his films left I have not seen.
Well, you're getting there, right? And
yeah,
that's
there's a lot of them.
And I think that, you know, I'm glad for everyone who sat here and listened to our 2 very long episodes at this point. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope we've, you know, brought up some nostalgia for you in films that you know and love. And I hope we've given you something new to watch. I hope that we've challenged you to maybe get outside your comfort zone, because there's a lot of really great movies out there. And it's great to watch, you know, familiar and comfort films. Absolutely. Like, nothing is wrong with that at all. But there's so much that you can watch and experience and engage in, and it makes conversations with other horror fans more interesting. You're not just talking about the same old over and over again. You're actually exploring and learning more about film and just enjoying these stories brought to life. And that's kind of the joy of watching movies, I guess.
That's the joy of being a horror fan.
Yeah, I guess that's true, right? So thank you, everybody, for coming on this journey with us. As always, we encourage you to join the Legion Patreon, because what are you waiting for?
What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for?
Scott and I will be back in February with our regular scheduled program. We will be going back to our theme episodes. We'll be talking about some 2022s. Scott's been watching them like a boss. I've only watched, I think, 9. I think if theaters are open here in Ontario, they haven't closed for the past month. So I will be going to see, hopefully, Scream 5 before we record next. And Scott's already raved about it, so I'm sure I'm going to thoroughly enjoy it as well. And maybe the Texas Chainsaw Massacre one will be out on Netflix as well, and we can talk about that.
Yeah, because I think that is coming out in February. I just can't remember when.
Right? So we have some 2022s to share. We have some guests that we're going to want to be bringing on as we go into our 3rd year of podcasting.
Crazy. And thanks to a lot of the listeners for giving us some theme ideas too, because that's going to help us throughout this year.
Absolutely. And we're just going to keep the good times rolling. And yeah, I guess in the meantime, Scotty, do you have anything else to add? I can't think of anything else to add. We've been doing this for a couple hours, so I don't want to.
No, I can't think of anything else. Just thank you to everyone that has been supporting us throughout all of this. Thank you to every guest that has joined us on the show.
Yeah.
We hope to have some come back as returning guests at some point as well. And I hope you guys enjoyed these long lists and don't mind that we deviated from our typical themes. But like Heather said, we will be back. We're going to be doing that again. Just it's good to take a break and do something different for a little bit. And this top 51 was very tough, and I have a feeling my top 16 to 50 would be completely different if we did this again like a year from now. Just because, easily just so many good films and ones I forgot on that weren't on my list. But yeah,
Or ones that you have yet to watch.
yeah, exactly.
Or
ones
ones that have yet to be made.
That's true.
Mhm.
But yeah, so thank you guys for joining us for 2 years of this crazy ride and dealing with our dumbasses having so much fun. We're glad you enjoy it.
Absolutely. So, what do we want to say to the good people?
Until next time, kiddies, unpleasant dreams.
See ya.